Good morning, everyone. It's good to see so many people in here like when we first kick off. This is pretty awesome. This is your boy Raven, and of course joining me is Joe, the Rune Knight. And wow, holy shit. This week alone, there's been a lot of developments. First one we're going to kick off with, though, is one of my favorite publishers, hopefully one of yours, and if they're not, then perhaps it's time you check them out, Troll Games. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up their screen like right here, right now. But
while you're doing that, I just had another window of you open, and had another window of this podcast open and didn't realize it. So I was getting you in stereo, and I was like, "Where is that coming? What's going on?" Oh my!
So anyway, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show everyone here a little something that I think they're going to love, and this particular sale is still going on. Thank goodness. Actually,
the fire sale.
Yes, the fire sale.
The sale of Mighty Fire.
The sale of Mighty Fire. And here's the thing. Player's Handbook, 7th edition, PDF, free. Monsters and Treasures, 3rd printing, PDF, free.
I gotta go.
These are the only two books that you really need as a player. If you just want to play and you want to get into this, you want to try before you buy, this is the way to do it. If you're a 5th edition player, we've got Player's Guide to Aird, Lost City of Gaxmore, Monsters and Treasures of Aird, and of course Amazing Adventures for 5th edition, all $10. I would have jumped on these, but I already have all of them. So, and I mean, look at the prices on just the core books alone. $50 for the Monsters and Treasures guide is actually reasonable. It's a pretty stacked out book. You're going to see that if you download this one because the contents are pretty much the same. Player's Handbook is only $40. Castle Keeper's Guide it's 50. Again, it's worth it though. It's packed full of a lot of information. If you just want to get like into the game very quickly, all you need is this box set to like jump right in. Personally, due to the controversy, which we're about to start talking about in just a moment, I finally pulled the trigger on this one, Codex of Aird, because I love that setting. I also picked up Codex Keltarum and Tome of the Unclean, which is like their demons book and stuff like that. I was like, oh yeah, baby. So I finally pulled the trigger on those. I did finally use one of the coupons that they sent. But if you don't know about Troll Games, this is your introduction. They have, they're let me put it this way. The 5th edition stuff is going away. So a lot of the $4 adventure modules got snapped up. And if you were one of the ones who jumped in and grabbed the PDF bundles, there were some 5th edition adventures in there too. So you could now I'm going to say this for those who are turning their nose up at 5th edition, don't do so with Troll Games because I'm going to tell you why. The 4 books that they have for $10 are a great way of doing a couple of things. First, you get your 5th edition players interested in what Troll has to offer with these 3 books. Then you can show them that they can play multiple genres with the same rule set. Eventually, you could pull them right out. You could just ease them right into Troll Games, Castles and Crusades, Amazing Adventures, whatever it is you wish to play. And I guarantee you, it's gonna be familiar territory to them.
And if you're someone like me who actually plays 5e sometimes, get them before they're gone.
Yes, get them before they're gone because TLG has made it clear once gone, they're gone. These books are not coming back. Of course, I already made my buys, so I didn't have enough money to snap up any of the $4 adventures. However, I'm going to say this with the PDFs I've got, and if Troll Lord's listening, maybe they can confirm this for me or deny. It doesn't matter, but they can do either one. I don't think that they'll mind me sending some of those PDFs off to printme1.com and just having them printed for me. I don't think they'll mind too much.
Well, but, this is all really ill-timed for me. Not their fault, my fault, life.
Right.
I just started a new job, which is like, yay! And as you know, because this is a stealth update, the situation with my landlady is resolved.
Yeah.
She's coming up next week. We're gonna sign paperwork. I'm gonna get to keep my house and live here, but I gotta pay rent.
Right.
And I just found out from SSI that they've figured out what they're doing, and if I read the information right, my bills are handled. My fiscal situation is solved.
Sweet.
I mean, I wanted a housemate. I don't need a housemate, which is weird. Right. It's like, wait, I get to live alone with the dog?
Good. That's so good.
I mean, this now means I can have wild women over anytime I want, but but the not having to like moderate behavior to accept another human being after living my entire life with some other person, family or not, weird.
Yeah.
And it's I would be right now buying these Troll Lord Games content because it's cheap, right?
Yeah.
If I didn't have other problems that are like, well, I probably shouldn't right now. Otherwise, I'd be on it. I'd be all over it.
So Epi Camacho said, Steve has said many times, you're more than welcome to print up what you need. Have at it.
Sweet.
So Stein says, you got your own bachelor pad. That's true.
Well, I am trying to decide whether I want to turn my mother's room into a crafts room or into a pagan altar / human sacrifice chamber. Hey, it's restroom adjacent.
That's it, right? But anyway, the first topic up is, of course, the attack on Troll Lord Games, and how for those of you who don't know how this came about, Nerdcognito posted a little something. And let's see if I can find it. I'm pretty sure I still have it in my downloads. Oh crud! I really should have prepared this a little better. Let's try large icons. Here we go. Now I can see what I'm grabbing here. But this was PAX Unplugged's their COVID policy for their convention, and to be honest, it was one of those where you have to mask. Well, I'll just summarize it. Really, you can actually go look this up if you want to. You have to mask up. You have to prove you were jabbed. Ladies and gentlemen, I was jabbed not of my own choosing. That's why my card's in this. Just letting you know. I do believe if you're making me comply with something with which I don't agree, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it with full malice aforethought, and you're not going to like how I do it. But anyway, they want masked and vaxxed, and you had to prove it. And this was one of those things like now, with the president saying the pandemic is over. After all that they've defended, this is the bridge too far, apparently.
Here's the thing. I was jabbed of my own volition. You and I differ on that positionality. Now, right. I further add on, I had to do it for work. I was a caregiver for my mother. She's elderly. I needed to be certain I wasn't going to be ill. Right? But they gave me a card when I got it. And like, when you get your booster, you show them you had the first one. I never got the booster. I've had a shot. It did what it's supposed to do. I was still self-quarantined. This is not a police state. I do not have to carry proof that I got a jab I got to satisfy people at a game company or at a game convention that I got a jab. Here's an idea. If you're worried about the pandemic, don't have a convention.
Yeah, and there have been some recent Twitter followers of mine who have said the same thing. In fact, one put it out on his YouTube channel. He put it out as like a full statement saying that if this is still such a worry, why are you hosting these things? Where the, you know, if the official story is to be believed here, why would you then, after what was it been like 2 years of not having conventions, not having major gatherings, unless of course you're a radical Stalinist who, you know, went to a concert unmasked and had all this, you know, I mean, we've seen footage there's like overhead footage of these massive concerts where they're all just packed together like sardines in a can. And you're telling the rest of us, oh, you need to do it. Then you watch the footage from PAX Unplugged, which was, oh my goodness, holy crap. I watched part of the playthrough on Dungeons and Diversity's channel of Shadow of the Dragon Queen. It was the most, I can't even say cringe-inducing. Cringe-inducing is putting it lightly. This was some of the absolute most god-awful shit I've ever seen. And none of them were masked. Not one on stage.
I have not seen it, but I have heard that it's bad, and I want to see it for the train wreck quotient.
It is a train wreck. I will absolutely say it's a train wreck. And 28mm RPG says COVID was worse for the jab versus the unjabbed in my family. I think Stein's told me similar stories. I've heard similar stories all over the place, but Nerdcognito posted that, which, you know, this is part of the reason I just as a rule don't attend conventions.
Oh no.
You know, I just don't.
Shit.
But I also know our Twitter feeds are just full of these people these days. The entitled and the, you know, noses up in the air, and it, you know, noses in your business too. And I have to I'm paid to deal with those people at work. I'm not paid to on my time. I don't have to be nice.
I gotta know, 28mm. Is she okay now? Is she better?
That's kind of what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
I hope she is. I really do.
Me too. I had a friend, I spent Christmas with his family this year because they didn't want me to be alone on Christmas. It was real nice of them to do that.
Nice, yeah.
But they got the COVID stick because a family member who wasn't vaxxed and was brought it to their household that had been isolated. And it went right through their family like rain. Everybody got it. And that's the real thing. Certainly, there's a lot of political we could get into back and forth about the shot, its viability, its lawfulness, all these complicated upper level things. Mm-hmm. But still, I am resistant to call it a pandemic. I prefer to call it the plague, right? Because it went through everyone. It did not play favorites. It was uglier than we realized. It's like the same way that we don't call it a depression anymore. It's a recession. It's just a recession. It's not a depression. It's a depression. We've had multiple depressions since the big one.
Yeah.
This was our modern version of the Black Death. It just didn't kill as many as you think it did.
But just one of the things that has come out, many of us have been saying it since this whole thing began. It doesn't prevent transmission. It doesn't prevent contraction. To say that it lessens the symptoms. Okay, well, let me just take a shot of NyQuil. NyQuil does lessen symptoms. So by virtue of this ever-moving goalpost here, NyQuil's become a vaccine. Didn't know that. But here's the important thing, and I really need to move on because we have a bunch of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And only a couple hours to do it. So Jason Vey obviously he went really hard in the paint at at Nerdcognito. He blamed it on, as he put it, entitled white people. Now, before I go on any further, let me tell you something. I'm coming from personal experience, so I'm going to just come from that. My interactions with Jason Vey have been nothing but awesome. Like he's been really great, and I'll have a bit of a story for you in just a moment. But he came down hard on Nerd Cognito and really just came after him. And this was a post that I largely disagreed with. I really did. However, I was like, me going to him and trying to say something to him while he was in that state was not going to help. I ended up making my own thread where I detailed exactly what I thought, and not really in response, but this is something I wanted to share because I was like, okay, I was forced to get it. I have something to say about it now. Once you force me into a position, all bets are off. You don't get to make the rules. I am going to absolutely go against them. So I went ahead and made my post. Of course, there were a couple people that disagreed with me and were nasty about it. But for the most part, I didn't have a problem. With Jason, my problem wasn't that I disagreed with his post. It was just the way he put it. And then maybe about a day later, Trollord Games, because he is a staff writer for them, and it's on his bio. Trollord Games comes out with an official statement, and this is the thing. It reiterates what they've been saying the whole time, that they just make games for the sake of making games. And of course, Jason came out and apologized. He didn't double down. The people who were like still, flinging slings and arrows at him, there were people also defending him, but he literally said no. He or she has every right to be pissed. That to me said, okay, I'm backing off. Now, I did eventually go to him and I was like, look, dude, we all have bad days. And I can tell you, like, what he's talking about right now, and I'm not at liberty to discuss it, but what he's talking about with him having a lot on his plate and, just overload blew that fuse. I get it. Or, trip that breaker or whatever. I get it because it's legit. He's not just blowing smoke out his ass here. It's legit. And that leads me to this little story that I purchased Night Shift, and that's I've been recommending it. I've also been recommending Amazing Adventures, despite all this stuff going on, because quite frankly, they're really good. They're good, solid games. And here it is. I got this and the adventure module of Faustian Dilemma. And the thing I like most about this is it's a really suitable replacement for the World of Darkness games that I lost. And it contained it all in maybe 1 or 2 books and some adventure modules. And I was like, this is really cool. But let me tell you why I'm not really up for screaming for a boycott of his stuff. It's because, quite frankly, I don't think that really accomplishes anything, especially in this case primarily. And I say that because when I ordered this book, on the website it tells you that in 24 hours you'll get a link for a drive-through RPG download of the PDF. But here's what happened. I ordered it that night, got up the next morning, went to work, was involved in life here. A few days went by, and then one day out of the clear blue nowhere, I get a message. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry this link is late. And he was laying out why it was late. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay. And then he's sent me some more stuff, some more like PDFs and stuff like that to make it right. And I was like, oh, okay. Pleasant surprise. It came out of the clear blue nowhere for me. And then I, of course, went back to him and I was like, dude, I totally understand. Family stuff. I understand all that. That's perfectly fine, man. I'll be honest with you. I lost track of it myself. So no big deal, no harm, no foul. And he was concerned that this would put me off of being a continued customer. It's not. I am going to continue supporting Elflayer Games because they make really good games. A moment like that where apologies are, and you know what, I have to agree here, apologizing is very rare these days, and we all have bad days. I totally agree. And 28mm RPG, thank you so much for joining us, dude. Have a great day at work.
Also,
but it was one of those instances where, I'm not naive to think that there was no damage done to the brands Night Shift and Amazing Adventures. I'm not that naive, but I am telling people this is not a Wizards of the Coast, and we'll get to that event where they behave badly and then they double down on it. That's not what happened. So that's why I'm saying we cannot engage in the same struggle sessions that these radical Stalinists would have put us through, because it doesn't make us the good guys.
Well, that's my thing. If I can get this real quick, because I know you want to move on to other subjects. There was a debate recently. You may have seen it, you might not. Maybe Cal saw it, maybe Cal didn't. Hi, Cal. Where people were again talking about this idea of gatekeeping. And I was expressing how I really don't like it. I really think it's the wrong move. I think it's a bad play. And the reason is because you and I, being older men, come from a time and a place where the gaming environment was almost completely ungated, right?
Right.
You know, it was the Wild West. And the idea of putting up barbed wire seems counterintuitive to me. It's taken away my frontier, right? And then to turn around and say that we're doing it to protect the frontier seems backwards to me. Well, and the relevance is like one of the subtler stealth problems in the conflict between extremists and traditionalists, or gamers and nouveau gamers, or tourists, or whatever terminology you want to use, is gaslighting. They accuse us of gaslighting all the time, right? But they're gaslighting each other, right? And when we talk about this idea of what's a virtual signal, right? It's literally setting up a flare saying, I'm one of the good ones, don't be mad at me, right?
Yeah.
I can't know whether the person I'm talking to actually believes the things they're saying, right? Or if they're saying the things they think will keep them from getting hurt. So I don't generally jump onto dog piles yelling at people. I might disagree with them. I might go, that is really stupid of you to say. But I'm not going to assume they're a bad person. And that's the thing, is that when we start talking about the gatekeeping, I'm like, look, guys, how many Nazi jokes before you're putting on the Reich? How many times do you say you're going to do something before it's an actual process of action? How many times are we going to say we're going to keep out people before we start keeping them out for looking wrong and saying the wrong thing? Because that's what the other guys do that we don't like.
Right. But like, I'll come back to that if we get a little time. I will definitely come back to that.
Certainly.
Just definitely remind me. Nut jobs, yeah. Definitely. But what happened was when Troll Lord Games came out with their statement was actually aimed at their employees, because that's what it said. DM Bloodworth did a great job in pointing that out. It wasn't aimed at us. It was just a public response to a public event that happened.
Which is responsible business, by the way.
Responsible. Yeah. They're like, to paraphrase what they said was, we're only making games. We're just here to make good games. That's it. We leave that discussion to everyone else. Well, this is a place to, as they put it, this is a place to belly up to the table and play games with friends. I totally agree with. That's all that ever needs to be said.
I mean, it's both the reinforcement of policy and because the original statement, the inciting statement, was public, they had to make their statement public.
Right.
So we have to assume that there's also like an internal memo that says the exact same thing.
I imagine there was probably a conversation that happened behind the scenes. I can't prove it, but I imagine there probably was. And I'm saying that because I've worked for organizations and companies that have done the same thing. I've actually seen this occur. And I know when I worked in corrections, we could vote for whoever we wanted. We could talk about it. But we were not allowed. This could get you fired. We could not, like, you've seen those yard signs of, vote this guy, vote that guy, this one for city council, this one for school board. We were not allowed to have those signs. Not at all. Like, as a joke, I actually had a Picard Riker. I think what was it, the 2008 election, I think, was coming, and I had a Picard Riker Make It So 2008 sign in my yard, and they flipped shit. I was like, do you know who Picard and Riker are? Do you guys ever watch Star Trek? And I had to explain this to them, and I still had to take it down. It was like, okay, well, you're a little uptight, aren't you? So,
I mean, who's not into early 19th century balloonists, right?
Right, exactly. But anyway, like, I had that sign up in my yard for 2 days. I lived on the main drag of town, so everybody saw it. And it was just one of those things that it happened. We had a discussion, and I was told you got to take it down. So as soon as I got home, I ripped it up and I tossed it in the trash. No problem, no big deal. But it's one of those things that happens. Like some companies, 7 of 9, 7 of 9, in the immortal words of Beavis. So
how many toothpicks and tongue depressors is it constructed of? How much glue did you use?
But anyway, it was a good reinforcement of their already existing policy. And the Stalinists came out of the woodwork. They were attacked. Many channels have covered this. However, there's one thing that I don't think got covered, and it needs to be said. It needs to be said here. We showed up too. We showed up. We told these people they have a choice, and this is as much gatekeeping as I really want to do. Bloodworth, I'm with him on this one. This is the kind of the gates are always open. They're open to any and everyone, but you leave the politics and you leave all that shit at home. You are coming to a table to play a game. That is it. End of list. You're not wearing the political t-shirts. You're not going to lecture someone else. And guess what? Here's why I say it. You're not going to know whether the person you're sitting across from is a Nazi or a Stalinist. It's just not going to happen. And there's a reason that it's not going to happen, is because if we're strangers, you're meeting for the first time, and guess what? You're not going to know. You know what kept a lot of child molesters safe in that prison when I worked corrections? None of us knew what their records were. We treated everyone exactly the same.
I mean, serious question.
Same set of rules.
I mean, serious question that sounds silly. Was it a Twitter-based OSR counter protest, or was it there was a street fight going on and a bunch of OSR guys showed up and said, "You're going to stop, or this is going to turn into a riot"? Proverbially,
I think it's a little bit of both,
okay.
But I think more the latter, especially with me when I came in, because I was like, I am not. Let's go with that Star Trek reference again, because someone pointed the scene out in First Contact, which was really good, and he said Picard was having his moment with Alfred Woodard's character, and he was like, every time they assimilate a planet, we fall back. They take a civilization, we fall back. Well, right here and now, the line has to be drawn no further, and we will push. And just my own addition, we will be pushing back now. So what occurred was, we were like, when I showed up, I was basically telling them, you brought this shit to the wrong fucking neighborhood. Take it the fuck out. Get lost with that shit.
All I'm saying, and like you said, we'll get to it later. All I'm trying to assert is, let's not turn into Ahab while we do it. Not every person who disagrees with us is the white whale.
No, that's very true. I mean, if you look at my Twitter following, people of all stripes, even people with pronouns in their bios, there are people of all stripes. And let me tell you what gave me the clue that maybe they're not all Borg here, was when I made the Freedom in Play post about Vampire the Masquerade. And suddenly they came out of the woodwork, call it, you've got to be fucking with me. Hold up. I'm gonna fuck with this guy.
Woo!
Fuck you.
All right. Here we go.
Oh, you fucked up now.
Here we go.
Hello? Well, you're not going to waste my fucking time.
Oh, damn it.
They do that. They call and they don't fucking speak. And it's like, you're not going to waste my time.
Really hoping. I
was hoping too.
I was really hoping you were going to get somebody and you're going to be like, hello?
Hello. How are you today, big boy? I was gonna go full onage phone pranks on this guy. Hello, I am Rakesh.
Full jerky voice.
Yeah,
This is Superman being the Batman, and I need to change my service.
Yeah, what do you want there, fucking tough guy? Yeah,
But matter of point.
The whole point of this is that when I saw that there were like 200 people that liked that post of how about this? I just purchased the book and play the way I fucking want, and that's what was being said. And then I might have had like 30 or 40 people like coming directly at me and then maybe quote tweeting it and saying some stupid shit. And I was looking at the amount of people who were backing me versus the minuscule amount who weren't. And I went, you're losing. You are losing. It's over.
Well,
it's done. You're outnumbered. You're outgunned. It's just that simple. You'll never get rid of us.
Well, every so often the question comes up, why am I here? Why do I hang out with the OSR when I so often do not agree with so many people about so many things in that sphere, right? And it's because I am passionately in favor of free speech for two reasons. And the first is obviously because I like the idea of the ability to, have a free exchange of ideas and enjoy the media I like, obviously. But then there's the other one that people don't like. And that is, I don't think we should be giving the enemy camouflage. And they're like,
no.
what do you mean? It's like, look, if the neo-Nazis, and I mean the real neo-Nazis, want to march down Main Street wearing their regalia and their hoods, more power to them, because I want to know who they are so I can avoid them. I want to be able to see them. If they're going to tell me they exist, great.
Yeah.
Right? When you say that for my protection, I don't want to see you, that's saying I don't want to see you so you can sneak up on me and stab me in the back. That's empowering them to do what they do in secret, in the shadows. That's how you get power blocks of scary people. Yeah. I don't want none of that.
And the thing is, and I think Cal's absolutely right. As the Dungeon Delver put it, D&D belongs to all of us. We will be getting to that in just a moment. Absolutely, 100%. That's coming. But the attack lasted all of. We still got a few little stragglers here and there. The little guys who think that they can throw Molotov cocktails made of water, and they're not. They did not last. They ran. They absolutely ran. It lasted a few days.
They're called Avion cocktails.
Oh, yes, the Avion cocktails, yes.
Avion cocktails.
Yeah. They're throwing their soy latte cocktails at us, and it's just like, dude, really? That's disgusting shit. So the point of it being, I said in a couple weeks, this will all be over. It lasted only a few days. I grossly overestimated their... That's my fault. I'm going to admit I was wrong. Mark your calendars. I'm admitting I was wrong, and it lasted only a few days. But what happened from there was so many people showed up. So many people are posting their buys now. They're like, I'm buying this. I'm buying that. I'm downloading these free books. I want to really see what this is about. That gave me so much, I was so excited to see that. I was like, yes. I don't care if you got pronouns in your bio. Download those books. Check it out. You are going to absolutely love this shit. And I'd straight up issue challenges. I was like, I think you're scared. I think you're terrified. And there's no reason to. And the fact is, if you care, there were a couple of people that were like, should I look into this OSR thing? Because I'm not sure how my how my group will like that, because there's so many bigots there. And I'm like, dude, do you really give a shit what other people think about you, or do you give a shit what will entertain you? Because even if no one wants to play basic fantasy, even if no one wants to play Castles and Crusades or Lamentations of the Flame Princess, Old School Essentials, the Wretchedverse, whatever it is, Iron Falcon, Osric, for Golden Glory, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, grab Mythic or Old School Solo or Scarlet Heroes and play by yourself. Then tell them how it plays out. Tell them why it's enjoyable, why you enjoyed it, what you didn't like about it, what modifications you would make. That's what gaming is all about. But it excited me. It excited me to see so many people grabbing Castles and Crusades, because I was like, if nothing else, you pair that son of a bitch with Mythic and you've got a great solo game. Like, no bullshit.
Not a segue, but a weird facet.
Yeah.
You know, there's that conversation about how D&D 5 is criminally lacking in DMs, right? Which I actually don't think it's true anymore. I think what they were actually saying is it was lacking in whales we can get money off of, because WoTC is full of shit. Which we'll get to that.
I ain't kidding.
We'll get to that. But I think one of the facets, right, is that a lot of people talk about imposter syndrome and this idea that I'm not good enough to be a DM, and that's a thing that goes over to why they're reluctant to OSR, because OSR has a lot of DMs, and they're like, but if I go over and I'm not good, will they be mad at me? And I'm like, no, if you truly want to be a great DM, you have to make your peace with the supreme arrogance that you can temporarily believe yourself to be a god. Right? The more, obviously you don't want to be a dick. If you're a jerk, that's no good, right? But if you are the kind of person who can be arrogant enough to think you've got it all sorted and you're ready to go, and that you can run this and nobody is as good as you, then you can DM.
Let me just share a little something with many of you. I mean, I don't, at this point,
I am also under monetized.
Yes. No, I'm always under monetized. Let's just
if WoTC wants to pay me to do the job better than Matt Mercer, I'm in the book.
Right.
Oh no, I stand by it. I stand by it. I am a better DM. I stand by I am a better DM than Matt Mercer. Any day of the week, he can come to my table. I'll run circles around him.
But like with this Attack on Trollord games lasting only a few days, as it's like winding down, we get the 1 or 2 now. They're insignificant. They don't matter. Right on the heels of that was this hit piece by PBS NewsHour, and I am actually going to pull that up like right now.
The incredibly disappointing hit piece for me, not because of the content, but I grew up watching PBS. I was a Sesame Street kid. And then I remember when they had their telethons for funding, my folks and I would watch Blackadder and Red Dwarf and Masterpiece Theater. So much good stuff on PBS for decades of my childhood. And now PBS says I'm the enemy.
Yep, that's the thing. And I've said this before, like and this was just in private conversations with people. I'm not going to link the Attack on Trollord games to all the rest of the stuff we're going to talk about, because quite frankly, I see it as a really weird coincidence. It's a coincidence though, to me. And what we're talking about is this article right here, written by Christopher Thomas. You can read this yourself. It's still available, but how a new generation of gamers is pushing for inclusivity beyond the table. And here's the thing. They quote Stephen Dashiell, right? A postdoctoral fellow at American University who specializes in studying male-dominated subcultures, but actual play shows the term for a tabletop role-playing game performed for audiences give them more visibility. That's true. That is very true. People of color and women have always been a part of the tabletop RPG culture. That is also true. How did that happen? How did that happen? If they've here it is. If they've always been part of the tabletop gaming culture, then where did they come from? Because if always, meaning just after the lockdowns, you're sadly, woefully mistaken. And I'm not going to get too far into this, but I am going to say this. The new guard of hobby geeks are highly aware, and if they are not directly BIPOC people, they are allies. Ladies and gentlemen, I've said this before, I'll say it again, ally. I don't care how they define it. I'll tell you what it is. It is a term, a condescending one, that means useful idiot. That means you will never be part of their movement.
I mean,
you will be like kept at arm's length.
I mean,
and told what to do to further it.
I mean, more importantly, allyship implies a state of conflict, a state of war. War with who? Since when? I was not enlisted to a war.
Exactly.
I was not drafted nor volunteered.
Nope.
If anything, as weird as it is to say, the OSR is a homegrown self-defense force because we're tired of having guns pointed at us.
And here it is. Within these gaming communities, there is some friction. Old School Renaissance, or OSR, is a gaming movement whose players claim they are against outside politics permeating their game space. Yes, that is true. We are absolutely 100% against it. Let me give you some examples. Basic fantasy RPG. You will find absolutely no politics in there. None from mine, none from the right, none from the left, none from the center, none from anywhere. It is just a game. It's free. So is White Box FMAG, so is Osric, so is for Golden Glory. Those beautiful games are politics free, and they're D&D and everything but name. They're just different rule sets of D&D.
Caddish definition of allies: the useful unclean.
Unclean, yeah. That's a good one. But these players support the use of traditional fantasy tropes in game design, such as the existence of good and evil races with no nuance. Hold thoughts there. Good and evil races with no nuance. Let's talk about fantasy, good and evil with no nuance. OSR gamers are often seen as the old guard of tabletop gaming and tend to idealize the past because it was better, which defaults to a white masculine worldview. Where's the nuance?
Fuck you.
Where's the nuance? Oh, suddenly that went away. That was convenient.
Well, wait a minute. Who said there was no nuance?
It's right here.
No. I know that they said there's no nuance. But what I'm saying is, okay, the existence of good and the existence of evil as manifest absolutes does not remove the capacity for a multitude of interpretations and practices. So where's the lack of nuance to say that there are, orcs are evil? Okay, that doesn't mean there aren't good orcs. That means that evil orcs exist. Good job. You have the same reading comprehension as a 5-year-old.
And then it gets better, because I can tell you that is full of shit. If there's no nuance, good and evil races, no nuance. How the fuck did we get drizzed? Where the fuck did that come from?
Oh, let's double down. Drizzed, whether you like him or not, I'm not a fan. Cannot deny that his origins, much like Geralt of Rivia, is probably derived from Elric of Melibene by Michael Moorcock.
Yeah.
Right? Well, what was Moorcock writing? Moorcock was writing in the 60s as the reaction to, during the rediscovery of, pulp fiction from the 20s and 30s against Tolkien standards. We created Drizzt, the anti-hero, because the previous stuff was very absolute good and evil with no nuance, and we didn't like it. We wanted nuance and complexity.
Even in Tolkien, there was still nuance. You had Boromir, by all rights, was a hero who felt the corruptive force, and this one is the biggest of monsters ever. Felt the corruptive force of the ring, and it did influence him to do some evil things. It showed that not everyone was like 100% good there. That there were people with faults. Denethor was one of them. That was Boromir's father. He nearly killed Faramir. killing himself. I mean, come on. No nuance? Fuck off.
Let's look at the spread real quick. So, in Tolkien's time, Boromir's flirtation with darkness is why he has to die.
Mm-hmm.
He dies a hero, but he dies because he's not good enough. Sad day. Right? And then if you were to move that story to the 1960s, 1970s era, or even the early 80s, right? And you were doing Lord of the Rings, it would be Strider dies because he's a good guy, and now Boromir, fallen hero, must be the king. He must pick up the pieces and be the man that Aragorn was going to be.
And not only that, not just that, then, I would add one more layer to it.
Right.
It was Boromir's fault.
Right. And then if we move it to the modern, and I'm not one of the people that's on the let's hate on Martin bandwagon, because the man is capable. He's a capable writer. Whether he's not terrible, but I know lots of people are mad at him because he's slow and he's not going to finish his series. But if it was a modern retelling, right, Boromir would just be a piece of shit from the beginning. It'd be the tales of Boromir the asshole. But it would still have levels of nuance and things going on. It would never be just a black and white story. Never has been. And that's certainly not what we do at the table.
Well, no, because we actually have rules that are set up for, and this goes throughout D&D altogether. I mean, at first, with like basic expert D&D or BX D&D, you really only have like 4 options you could play: human, halfling, dwarf, or elf. There are no half elves, there are no half orcs, there are none of that shit. But the thing is, that was created as a means of getting younger players in. It was one of the simplest versions of the rules that there were. And what makes a great DM in that particular game is that they got, and this is where I think Session Zero is so stupid, because it's unneeded. And it's been something that we've been doing from the start, where we gather around and we have a session where we just create characters. We say, this is the setting. Here's the setting. Here's the world you'll be inhabiting. And here are some of the things that you'll need to know about it as players. Now, you will find out more as time goes on, but now we need to create our characters. Let's get to rolling stats. Here, grab your 6-sided dice, grab 3 of them. If you don't have 3, just grab the 1 and roll it 3 times or whatever. However it is you want to do that. And some people are like, I've seen this argument as well. Some people are like, well, if I'm going to play, I'm not going to do 3d6 down the line. I'm going to do roll 4d6 and drop the lowest. And I'm like, that's fine.
I was raised on that.
Do it. Go ahead. Be my guest. I'm perfectly good with that. And if I'm playing at another table, it says, no, we're doing 3d6 down the line, and then you build your character around that. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's your table. That's your rules. But the point of this hit piece here is that they're, and notice, they Christopher Thomas, who wrote this, I'm putting you on blast, idiot. Flat scan. I'm putting him on blast because there is not one single quote from anyone who's played or run any of these games. Not an author, not a player, not a GM, nothing. Well, it was just made up. It is, in fact, a hit piece. And no matter how much pushback they've gotten, they posted this shit 3 fucking times in one day to try to get away from the ratio. There's no getting away from it. You wrote a hit piece. It's blatantly transparent. No, Christopher Thomas, you are not out to quickly learn anything. You are fucking around. You're finding out.
Well, another facet of it, as in this article, but also in the community with the Stalinists and so on, is I remember an argument I had some years ago. I want to say almost 10 or 15 years ago now. Somebody was saying why they didn't care for D&D, and that's fine. You don't have to like D&D, but their position was that dungeoneering and adventuring didn't matter, and it shouldn't have XP systems. And I'm like, but why? And they're like, because you could just give me XP. And I'm like, but why? And their argument was basically that because monsters don't exist until the DM stocks the dungeon with them like a video game, right? So if I make a dungeon and I put a dragon in the bottom of it, that dragon's just sitting there waiting for the players and has to be amenable to the players able to defeat it, and it has gold and XP because it has to mechanically. And I'm like, no. And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, well, tell me about the dungeon. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, how old is it? Who's been in it before? How many generations of habitation? How was it constructed? Is it dwarven? Is it orcish? Is it human? You know, because that dragon's not there for no reason. He's there for a purpose. He has a plan. It's his territory. He has minions and a flyable radius. And there's some reason he likes it there. Maybe it's got his horde. Maybe there are other reasons. But just, you know, there's an active thinking component to D&D that includes its internal morality. And these people ignore the morality aspect like it's somehow optional. I don't need to know the morals of the skeleton to know the skeleton's going to put its bony little thumbs in my eyeballs and kill me.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's a moral relativism argument, and I'm like, dude, they make games for that too. The Wretchedverse engages in a heavy dose of moral relativism.
Oh, we'll get to that later.
Monsters, moral relativism all over the place.
Yeah.
And this is a good quote here. I always thought when orcs ate humans, they were just misunderstood. I didn't look. Wait a minute. Hey, Peter Crowd. Did no one tell these orcs that meat is murder?
I mean, look. The orc shaman is just looking for the funny bone because he's a clown.
Yeah, and Cal's got a point here. Like he says the past wasn't better for me; it was just different. But there were always certain people condemning gaming. That's a point that I can take. I think the real point is that we look to the past systems, because in some ways, like I came up on D&D Second Edition. I had no idea what BX was. Back me. I was always curious about what did the first edition look like. You know, why am I playing a second edition? Where's the first edition? Why can't I go back to that? And it's because it wasn't available. I couldn't go to original OD&D because it wasn't there. I had no idea it even existed. I didn't know about BX, Back Me, or any of that, because the real gatekeepers, the ones that were trying to shut the gate on me, weren't other players. It was these evangelists and things like that. So Cal has a great point here, but what we're kind of looking at on the flip side of that same coin is just like the rule sets, and that's what we're being called lazy bigots over, is because we like a different rule set than like, I'm going to say this: 5th edition is not the best rule set of official D&D. In my opinion, I think I'm with John, the basic expert. I think just my opinion, one of the most easily accessible is basic expert, and then you could just roll it right into Back Me and not have a problem.
This is why I first of all, I'm hearing me on your speaker. I don't know why, but this is why I feel that the same people that are trying to keep us out or push us out now are the people who, when we were in high school or middle school or during the height of the Satanic Panic, were giving us swirlies and throwing us in lockers and didn't want us coming to their reindeer games. It's the same people.
Yeah. And the thing is, I've had one of the stragglers recently from the Troll Lord attack was going, oh, no wonder you were thrown into a locker as a kid. Well, number one, no, I wasn't. I was never thrown into a locker. The lockers were way too fucking small for that shit. Yeah. And number two, I fought back. I fought, like, I didn't want to. I wasn't This was not something I looked for, but I fought back.
Oh,
I won some, I lost some, and I've still got the scars to prove it.
Oh, I had a wonderful conversation in the OSR because I don't recall who, but somebody was trying to argue that all of this stuff was because we took away bullying in schools and we needed to let bullying happen because it's a pressure valve on social interaction, and it's how you're told not to screw around and it gets you back in line. And I'm like, okay, let's go with that. Does that mean we're going to endorse consequences too, where I can beat the ever-loving crap out of my bully? And then they didn't believe that I had ever been jumped for no reason and that I had to fight those people off. They actually thought I was making it up. And it's like, no.
Well,
no.
And just to kind of go on that point for a second here before we wrap up this point and move on. The bullying in schools. Okay, let's talk about that for just a second. Because the zero tolerance policy, in my opinion, was terrible.
Yes.
And it's terrible because now you're introducing a school to prison pipeline. That's what I saw it then. I was like, thank fuck I'm graduating because I don't want any part of this shit.
That's what I tell people. I tell people high schools and middle schools are kid prison.
That's it. That's all it is. And on top of that, when I was bullied, no consequences to the bullies. Never mind, I had a rock thrown at the back of my head. It struck me, and there was blood coming down my neck. I got bitched at about my fucking earring. And that's when I took that rock and I was like, stop fucking with my head. Stop. And they're like, we need to treat this. I'm like, no, you fucking don't. You're not going to do something about this asshole. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to tear through everyone who was behind me until I find this shithead that did this. I'm going to take his fucking soul out. And they're like, watch your mouth. I'm like, fuck you, suspend me, do it. And I was going hard at him until finally, we managed to get the situation calmed down. I don't remember how, but now they're calling my dad in. My dad's coming in. He's like, the hell's going on? Now, keep in mind, I'm at the end of my day. I should be going home. My dad's coming from work. He is pissed off. And he's like, what the hell's happening? And there's still like blood that had, dried down my neck. And I'm showing him that. I'm like, rock hit me back here and, came from behind me. There was a crowd behind me. I don't know who did it. And I'm going to go find who did it. And he's like, no, sit the fuck down. And I'm like, yes, sir. You don't argue with my dad. He's a fucking Marine. He does not give a shit.
He's going to go find him.
But he wasn't going to do that either. And he looks at the principal and he's like, you're going to find who did this. What is the penalty for someone who does this to another student? And of course, the principal hems and haws. He's like, that's not what I'm asking. What is the penalty?
Right. Answer the question.
Over and over asking him until finally he's leaned on his desk and he's like, what is the penalty? And I mean, my dad's got that kind of that Sam Elliott voice. So it comes up, I'm asking you a question, boy. What's the penalty? And I mean, he says it through gritted teeth. You fucking listen. This is your last chance. So finally he tells him, and he's like, you find that some bitch who did this and you suspend them today. And he looks at me and goes, come on, boy. And I got up, we left, and the guy who did it never got suspended. They wanted me to walk around. They wanted me to take a different route. I'm like, oh, hell no. Not happening. Long story short, I found the one who did it, and I knew this kid dipped. So he's got a like a lump of Copenhagen in there. That's where I punched him. And both spit, blood, and Copenhagen went flying, and we were tangled into each other. And my dad gets called again. What happened now? Well, your son was fighting this kid. Why was he fighting? Why were you fighting him? I was like, because he's the one that threw the rock at the back of my head. He goes, oh. He goes, you didn't suspend him. And he's like, well, no, we can't prove anything. He's like, so you didn't handle it. How did you handle this? He's like, well, we wanted him to walk around. He's like, nope. He's like, is what's going to happen now? He's like, well, your son's suspended. He's like, all right, come on. And we get to the truck and I'm like, oh shit, I'm grounded. I'm fucked.
Nope.
And he looks at me and goes, now tell me what happened. And when I told him, he's like, I was like, I'm in deep trouble, aren't I? He's like, what? Hell no. We're gonna go get a burger. Let's get the fuck out of here. I was like,
that's the thing, man. Because of my disability,
mm-hmm.
right? I have never been the He-Man all sport ultra military guy that deep down in like my soul I would have loved to have been. I would love to go in the Navy like my old man. I would love to be on a boat, seeing the world, but it ain't gonna happen, right? I'm one of those genteel artiste types who reads too much and draws and does, poetry like a weirdo. And I love learning. I love science. I love books, right? So you can imagine how upset I was when I fell out of love with learning until I ended up going to college, right? By the way, Don Raviselli's points here are great. I want to talk about those when we're done rambling. But I fell out of love with learning when the same person that I'd been in a fight with in middle school ran into me in high school and shoulder checked me in the mouth. In the hallway. Right? And I lost my cool. I lost my cool completely. And I got my father's mouth. I swear like a sailor. Right? And a class was coming out of the library. The teacher looked at me, told me not to espouse myself in that way. And when I tried to say, I've been assaulted, he just smiled at me like he was talking to a crazy man. And that's what I knew. That's when I knew the school was not in my corner, ever.
Nope.
That they cared never about me. And it's like, that has affected the totality of my mind space forever. I hate, the man, because I know that the man would let me get face checked and not care.
Yeah. And I mean, here's the interesting postscript of that story was I went back to school 2 weeks later.
Right.
And, this guy still has like some bruises that are fading, and he's waiting at my locker. And I'm like, oh, I'm not like,
go again.
I'm not like, oh, should I avoid my locker today? I'm just like, I don't want to fucking do this again. But I'm like, fuck, I got to get books out of my locker. So if I got to shove him out of the fucking way, I'm gonna have to. It's gonna be another fight. Let's just get it over with. Here comes a month or a possible expulsion, and I walk up, and he sees me, and he's like leaning against my locker. He comes off of it, and he just approached me like this. He's like, hey, whoa, and then he extends his right hand. He's like, I've never met anybody who would do that. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck's going on? And we shook hands. This guy became one of my best friends. And I ended up in another fight. And then this guy's one of his friends decided to come in and give the other guy an advantage. And that dude that I had, I'm going to say this, I lost the fight to that guy. I literally lost it to that guy. But he jumped in and he attacked the other guy. And he's like, ain't but two people in this fight, son, and you ain't one of them. Yeah. I was like, oh shit. So I ended up getting the good thing. I got a friend out of the situation. That's largely what happened in the South. Sometimes friends fought. I know I fought tons of my friends before, and it just made us stronger.
But now we have to talk about what you can't punch in the face.
Yeah.
The evil empire is at hand.
Yeah, that's true. And welcome, Shadow and Sun. I've actually been on their live stream and hung out in chat too, and hung out with him on Bloodworth stream as well. It was a real pleasure meeting. It's a pleasure meeting you guys. But going to
wait a minute. Shadow,
that's the best friendship start. That's true. Yep, absolutely.
Shadow, are you the guy that was on with Miguel and Sylvia yesterday?
No, that was Griff. That was Griff from Tonisport.
Okay.
Secrets of Blackmore.
I'm trying to learn everybody. I don't know everybody. So.
That's a very male-centered story about growing up. Yep, that's very true. That's very true. And let's see what else. We've all been there. That's true. Yes, we have. And yeah, Red Room. Yeah, Red Room. Red Room's pretty awesome.
They are great.
Yeah, they are. They are very great.
Well, you were saying, Night Shift is your replacement for your World of Darkness.
But actually, I haven't checked out Wretched Darkness yet. Oh man.
I am already working on accessories for it right now.
Nice.
We'll get to that later.
Oh yeah. Okay. So, I mean, the point of this being that the hit piece is just saying what they're doing is they're saying, oh, look at this crowd. They're all diverse. They're the blah, blah, blah. Look at this crowd. They're evil, old white men, which is patently fucking untrue. And if there's any wonder why we're pissed about that, it's because we've literally bled, we've sweat, and we've shed tears over this. This is not something we're going to take lying down. So PBS, fuck you, okay, and fuck you too, Christopher Thomas.
And quite frankly, if we credence even for a moment that tabletop games do have a propensity for sort of middle class, and that does tend to be whitey, right? I'm sorry, we celebrate when women and people of minorities are like, can I play? We're like, yes, come join the party.
Yeah, because back then, and you know what? It's and I think Cal's pointed it out. Yeah, Shadow and Sons pointed it out. We were so ready for anybody. We were excited when someone said, "Hey, what's this D&D thing all about? What's this Palladium thing all about? What's this Vampire the Masquerade thing all about?" When people got past the media demonizing us, which, hello, Christopher Thomas, we're fucking used to it, asshole. And if you want demons, you'll find them here. So anyway, we were so excited when someone broke through that we were like, come to the next game. We'll show you. You're going to love this. It's amazing. You're going to get away from, doesn't reality suck? Don't you want to get away from that for a little while? Well, at my table, you can totally do that, and we'll help you.
I have never bought into the outcasts and awkward weirdos argument. I've always felt that that's an argument that favors the mainstream, because they can say, oh, weirdos do that thing. You don't want to be a weirdo, right? But that doesn't mean there aren't outcasts. And the fact of the matter is that when you take lonely people who don't have a lot of friends, but when you have a friend, it's a friend for life, and you say, I want to be one of your new friends. Yeah, no, we want friends. We want more people. We love having community. That's why we're fighting so hard to keep it.
To close this out, I can put this in very simple terms to tell this fucking flat scan to go fuck himself. We have open tables for everyone. The only condition, you leave the politics, you leave the bullshit at home. That's it. That's all we require. You bring your dice, you bring some paper, you bring a pencil. That's all you need to bring. If you've got a copy of the player's guide, bring that son of a bitch too. That's fine. If you're a rules lawyer, bring it on. We can actually discuss the rules themselves, why they don't work for our table, why they may work for yours, whatever the case may be. Bring that to the table. Bring only that to the table. What do the people that he's talking about want? No Nazis. So that means that they want to vet everyone slightly to the right of fucking Stalin.
Well, I mean,
away from the hobby altogether. We're not
look,
the gatekeepers, assholes. You are.
Well, look, Raven, obviously you're going to have your safety card, and on your safety card, it's going to say whether or not you're vaxxed, and whether or not you're a Nazi, and whether or not you voted for Trump. And if you have a check mark against all those things, then you can't be in tabletop.
And bring extra munchies, yes.
Yeah, and yes, women at the table class up any game. Absolutely. And my thing is, I don't know about other people. My thing is, I don't care. It doesn't have to be a young woman, although we like young women. It doesn't have to be a single woman. If it's like, no, bring your girlfriend, bring your mother. Your grandma likes D&D and wants to give it a shot, bring her too. Don't care. Bring your father, bring your grandfather, bring your brother. Bring the family unit. We'll totally find a space for you at our table, because we want all the kinds of experiences and all the kinds of perspectives at the table.
Yeah, what we do is we take our tables and look, that coffee table right there, I'll clear that son of a bitch. I'll do you a tarot reading, or I'll clear it and we'll play a game.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Whatever the case, whatever it is, that table is as solid as it can be. That is firm, nice, solid ground that we can all stand on, not literally, and build something. Are you interested in building something? Or are you interested in just tearing the whole fucking world apart and burning it all down because you have an ideology to protect? That's what the most important question I give these people is. What's more important, your ideology or the fucking game? Because if it's your ideology, quit playing the fucking game. Go do something else because this is not for you. And the most important piece to this is when they come in and they start shunting people. They're like, oh, go build your own. Okay, well, we've done that. You took it. Fine. We're going to go build something else. Then it's that shouldn't be allowed to exist. It's like, well, it does. And now that you've decentralized us, it's going to exist. And it's going to exist in perpetuity. And there's nothing you can do about it because we've never needed your permission, consent, or approval.
Very, very briefly. I was at work yesterday. I actually have a job in game design. I'm a game designer now. How's that? I'm taking courses to learn how to write games because they need a writer. But I was talking to one of our people who's learning how to build assets. And I was mentioning 3D printing, and we got off on a bit of a tangent about it. But I said there are two kinds of gamer equipment. There's gamer equipment that is practical, which includes minis, right? And you can tell who's a serious gamer because they only take the practical. Yeah, sure. An Elderwood Academy dice tray or a character sheet box would be nice because they're good, they're cool looking, but you don't need them. If a gamer shows up with a notebook of lined paper, a thing of graph paper, a couple of pencils, and some dice, and is ready to go, yeah, he's a serious gamer. And then there's gamer swag. Now, there's nothing wrong with having swag. My mom used to buy me swag for Christmas all the time. I've got a D20 cake pan, right? Nice. Yeah. But you can tell who's a gaming tourist because they have all the swag. Like, they need the swag to prove their gamer bona fides because you'll be mad at them that they don't have swag. And you don't need the swag, right? No. So when you say, this is my table and I'm going to build something, right? That might be literal. You might actually have a constructed thing that you built with your own two hands in your own little craft corner over a week. And you go, what do you think, guys? That is unique to you, right? And then, yeah, that's what they want to take away. Well, you can't build your own thing. Why not? It's like, because it's not swag approved. It's not on the approved list. It doesn't have the swag stamp. WoTC didn't say you could.
Well, that's a great segue because it leads us right into this new, what I call the new dread open gaming license, which is anything but. It's anything but. And here's the thing. Okay, so I posted a photo. And Moots is joining us. Hi, Moots. What's going on?
Hello. How are you?
And get this, Moots just downloaded the Castles and Crusades Player's Handbook.
Damn right I did.
Yay!
I've run a one-on-one for her in Basic Fantasy, so she's got some experience in RPG. And I still remember this, Moots. You were like, I need more of this, and it can't just be next month. I need it like in a few more days.
Yeah, and you left me hanging. It's been like multiple months.
I have been trying to coordinate this forever.
Least important thing ever. Proof. It's a woman in gaming.
Women in gaming.
Take a picture.
Oh my god.
But here's the this is some of the most disturbing news to come out of this with the original open gaming license. With the open gaming license 1.0, which was written back in about 3rd edition D&D. This one gave third-party creators the ability to create third-party content, publish it, and sell it without royalties and with basically just a license. Here you can make stuff for our game, you can sell it, and it's completely yours 100%.
Yep.
And it's been that way for about 20 years. So I actually took a picture of my 5th edition.
Did you take a picture?
No, I'm sorry. Don Ravaselli channeling Jurassic Park. They do exist.
They do. Oh my god!
Wait a minute. Is that what D&D on a castle is? Is that just the Jurassic Park of gaming?
Pretty much, yeah.
Is Satine Phoenix just like a velociraptor in a human skin?
Oh! Ooh.
But maybe they'll cut you along the belly like this and spill your guts all over the floor.
Exactly.
Eleanor the elf strikes again. But this is, I got to bring this up from the phone. I can't. I know I put it on Twitter, but here we go. This one, yeah, this is going to be the one. And I'm bringing this picture. She vanished, man.
She vanished, and Cal's like, clever girl.
Doctor Who reference. Got it. So.
Oh
my God.
All right, here we go. Get ready for this. This is everything 5th edition that I currently own. It's going to be and I'm bringing this up for a point here, because it. Well, okay, yeah, we're going to do entire screen, share that, and boom, there you go.
Meanwhile, back on the ranch, 8 hours later.
So
look, anything you can't sell, if you're getting rid of it, just mail it to me. I'll add it to the stack.
Oh, I'm not selling one bit of this.
Okay, cool.
I mean, okay, so like anything with the little red stripe that actually says Dungeons and Dragons here.
Yeah.
These guys right here, that's all official. Everything else is third party.
Nice.
So Goodman Games did Temple of Elemental Evil. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm sorry. So if I'm understanding what your point you're making is that all the other stuff is what people create.
You are really breaking up.
Oh, can you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can
hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
I said so. So is your point that all the ones? So the majority of those there are from people that created that without the need for a license, correct?
Well, they created it under the open gaming license.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
So
Sorry.
This is stuff like, so the Player's Handbook, DM's Guide, Monster Manual, Starter Set Essentials Kit, that's all official Wizards of the, and Dragonlance too. That's all official Wizards of the Coast D&D. The rest of it is all third-party stuff.
Oh, man.
So D&D has their own stuff like Dragonlance. That's one of their adventures. It's not a setting. The rest of this stuff is adventures, settings, campaigns, like Crown of the Oathbreaker. That's, look at the size of that fucking thing. It's massive. That is a campaign by Elderbrain, Arcanus 5th edition. That's the Runic edition. That was done by Paradigm Concepts, Chronicles of Iris, and The Doom That Came to Astrius, Shadows of Padfoot, Alleys Between Them. The stuff at the bottom, you got a whole bunch of like Troll Lord Games stuff. You got a Kobold Press book in there. Neverland, I can take your adventurers and throw them right into the face of Captain Hook if I want to. That's all that stuff. That's all third-party creations. Now, some of the stuff that's come out, because we are about maybe 6 days away from the new OGL 1.1 taking effect. And that one it's gone from 900 words, very easy to understand, very simple, to 9,000. And as it's been understood so far by a majority of people who have looked into it, basically, wizards can cancel all of that and then claim it all as their own and publish it as theirs.
How is that?
That's oversimplified, but here's something else.
And you basically erase the fact that it was someone else's idea.
Basically, yeah, it's basically legal theft of property. But let me see. I'm going to stop sharing that. I'm going to share something else here. I came across this, and no one's covered it yet. So this one does need to be up there, and it's this. So Tenkar from Tenkar's Tavern said, I did some asking around, and it appears at the moment my suspicions were true. OGL 1.1 is opt-in, and the only way to use the upcoming 1D&D SRD, that's the stuff that's going to be like online, all that, the 6th edition where they're just going to put you in a virtual tabletop, not your table, not your rules. And if you opt in to 1.1 to create content for that, 1.0 and 1.0A are no longer authorized for you. The leaked and not seen document is from mid-December. His source is current, and of course this could all change by January 13th, which I believe is when the new license goes live. And keep in mind that I'm going to say this: the Attack on Troll Lord games. The reason I said it's I don't connect it to this is because it's a little bit of a coincidence. I will admit it's a weird coincidence, but the hit piece and then this leak, they're demonizing old white people. I mean, come on. I'm in my early 40s. I'm not that fucking old. They don't want you buying books. They don't want you running your own table. They're creating the walled garden. Everything that I said before about this 1D&D campaign, they're just, as time goes on, more and more information coming out to prove I was correct.
See, here's the thing that I think doesn't actually get commented on enough relative to this.
Mm-hmm.
Product creation is a pyramid, right? You can have it fast, you can have it cheap, or you can have it high quality, right? Yep. And always a product is a balancing act between the three, right? Because you can have it high quality, really good, but it's going to be really expensive.
True.
Or you can have it cheap and you can have it good, but it's going to be, a pamphlet, right? Any number of ways to work it.
And I mean, Wretched Bastards is a good example of that, because it is not a big book at all, but it's still fantasy. It still engages in the moral relativism, and you can take it in so many directions.
Well, in the last 2 years, we have seen multiple major media sources literally throwing money at it, trying to break the pyramid, because I have so much money that I can do it expensive, fast, and good.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it not work over and over again. Disney Star Wars, Amazon's Lord of the Rings.
Now, okay, before you go any further, none of those were good.
No, I know. But they have that corporate thought that I have so much money that I can do fast and good, and the expense won't matter because I'll just get the money back. But then they didn't do the time. They didn't put in the legwork to make it good. Right?
True. Very true.
The relevance is here we have D&D, and they perceive their material as content, not product, not games, content, right? And one of the major criticisms of 5e is how few things 5e put out in its roughly 10-year lifespan, right? How many books? How many actual meaningful additions to 5e were there that weren't third party, right? Maybe a book every 2 years, and those books were often critically judged for being thin, not thin in size, thin in content, thin in value.
Yep.
Right? Okay, you want to make a walled garden. You want to stream out whatever's not yours. Wait a minute. What purpose does the OGL serve? It's homegrown fan interest. It's free advertising. It's not lost money. You're giving up some of your money as an investment to let players advertise for you.
Yeah, I think Don put it best when he said, I still have faith the leak was a draft, intentionally leaked to get the temperature of the room. My ultimate concern is keeping OGL 1.0A in perpetuity. If OGL 1.1 stands, then it's all out war. I'm on the front lines of this, and I'm going to tell you why I'm like backing this statement is because the first thing I saw when I went to get, like, I'm on my phone and I'm, kind of putting this out there on Twitter, at least. I had to go to my YouTube to get the link to make the post. And the first thing I saw was hashtag boycott the D&D movie. That was L. L was the first one in here, and that's what he put. And I was like, here we go, because that D&D movie's coming around, and they're doing this. It's like shooting yourself in the foot and then blaming the old guard for the mess that you made, where there's blood all over the floor and your foot's fucked up.
Real quick. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, where did this all start? Is this whole like woke thing that's going on, or like I'm just trying to catch up a little bit.
Okay, so brief history here. When you had AD&D second edition, that was under TSR. TSR was a completely different company.
Okay.
In 96, 97, due to Lorraine Williams mismanaging the company and making some insanely bonehead moves, they found themselves on the verge of bankruptcy. They were going out of business. Wizards of the Coast was flying high off of Magic the Gathering. They bought TSR, lock, stock, and barrel. They bought it all.
It's
at a time when other companies just wanted to buy it piece by piece by piece, a piece here, a piece there, because they thought they could take this IP and just make it a whole bunch of different things by different companies. So Wizards of the Coast was like, no, we'll buy the whole damn thing.
Extra funny because Wizards of the Coast was working for TSR as a licensee at the time. So they bought it out from the inside.
Right.
Oh, man.
So what ended up happening was Wizards of the Coast now owned it, and suddenly D&D second edition on back, it's gone from the shelves. We were all waiting for a new version. 3.0 hit, it had its problems. 3.5 came and solved some of those problems. And about the time version 3 came out, Ryan Dancy released the open gaming license. That was like, okay, third-party creators, you can create your stuff for us, those adventures that you've been working on all these years, and kind of sharing them with friends. Now you can make money on them, and we're not going to come after you, because TSR was lawsuit happy.
Yeah.
If you publish something for D&D second edition, they would come after you, and it was a shit show. And I think that was part of Lorraine Williams's initiative as well. So Ryan Dancy posted that. That's what we've been operating on for like the last 50 years. So long as you don't infringe on trademarks, you're fine.
Okay.
And under this, we had Osric, White Box, Basic Fantasy, et cetera. And when you look at like Iron Falcon or Osric, or even Basic Fantasy to an extent, you'll notice it seems a little bland. Like there's not a lot of flavor there, but that's because they were like trying to err on the side of caution. They were trying to stay as far back from the trademarks as they could. It was old school essentials that pushed the envelope, looked Wizards in the eye, and went, do something about it. And Wizards blinked.
What really
they took Matt Finch and Stuart Marshall to court over Osric, and the case was thrown out with prejudice.
Wow.
Because there was nothing there.
Well, the other thing that really shook stuff up is in between, Wizards of the Coast released a new edition. They released 4th Ed. Now, Fourth Ed is a complicated creature worthy of a story all by itself. I'm not going to get into it. But people didn't like it so much, right, that it led to a group of former 3rd Ed players and designers breaking off and making a little company you might have heard of called Paizo, making a little game you might have heard of called Pathfinder, that actually stole WoTC's market share. They got the top slot for, what, a year and a half?
Right.
Something. They beat Hasbro out at role-playing games. And I think that put the fear of God into them, which is why they made 5th Ed. And I mean, 5th Ed's not bad. 5th Ed's pretty good. But now,
we're just talking the core rules here. The starter set, the essentials kit.
Right.
That's okay. That's actually pretty good.
But over the years, I think they either forgot or did not learn the lesson of 4E, because now they're trying to edge out competition and create a monolithic control influence where everybody plays the one and only approved D&D that's graded by them. Not a great idea.
One D&D to rule them all, one D&D to find them, one D&D to bring them all, and then they're fucking all.
Wait a minute. Are you saying but the Wokes were lied to? For another D&D was created? One D&D to rule them all in the fires of Mount Doom?
In the fires of Mount Doom at the Tower of Weasels of the Cache.
Wow.
But it's like there have been like multiple these like retro clones that I introduced you to, Moots, and of course Stone as well. These retro clones were made because of that. Because at the time Wizards was sitting on second edition on back, and they had no intention of releasing it. It was by the time when fourth edition came around, the message was you will play if you want to play D&D, you will play our way or no way at all. And when they lost their ass in court, because they were losing their ass to Pathfinder, Osric, and all these other clones, when they were losing that market share, the judge basically told them, you have all of this. Why are you not releasing it? You could be making money off of it, and you're saying that it's their fault? No. Either you take the money and you release these, or you take the loss. You take the L. Which one do you want? Because you're only going to get one or the other.
Which,
and
ironically,
they blinked and they released all of it. Now, every time you go to buy it on Drive-Thru-RPG, you get a lecture. And I will pull that up and show you the lecture. It's so dumb.
Interestingly enough, things that happened that get kind of overlooked is that something very key happened during that trial, right? External to that forced them to have to put out product. And it's why I have new working copies, because my other copies are old and I want to keep them in good condition, for first and second editions core books. Gygax died.
Yep.
And when Gary died, they had to release something for his death. So they released special editions of first and second ed's core books, Player's Book, DMG, Monster Manual, and the proceeds went to the memorial for Gary in his hometown.
Mm-hmm. And here it is right here. Here is the lecture that we all get every time we buy any of these books. Yeah. We Wizards.
Oh no! Wait, Raven.
Whoa! Hey!
Sorry.
We Wizards recognize that some of the legacy content available on this website does not reflect the values of the Dungeons and Dragons franchise today. Some of the older content may reflect ethnic, racial, or gender prejudice that was commonplace in American society at the time. These depictions were wrong and are wrong today. This content is presented as it was originally created because to do otherwise would be the same as claiming these prejudices never existed. Dungeons and Dragons teaches that diversity is strength, and we strive to make our D&D products as welcoming and inclusive as possible. This part of our work will never end.
But wait a minute.
Fucked.
But Wolfgar, you left out the most wonderful part of that process.
Oh, really? What's that?
Okay, I have old school prints of D&D books. I have the original Oriental Adventures. They didn't just put that in their new work. They didn't just put that on the Drive-Thru-RPG website, which would have been annoying, but I would have accepted it. No, they went back into old school material and added it. It's in the PDFs. They're adulterated.
Oh
my God! Whatever happened to just playing a fucking game and having fun?
That's it. That's
what happened.
That's what Troll Lord. We were talking about them earlier. That's what they reiterated in their post to their employees. Here we just make games. Here is just a place to play games with friends. That's it.
Wait, these
apparently
people
that's a problem.
They're so fucking bitter. They're so angry that they have to take the fun out for everybody. They can't just keep it to themselves. Like, they can't just be bitter within themselves and live in their own bitter little fucking world. But they have to make everybody else be bitter with them, you know? Like, fuck you.
Yep.
Just want to thank you. Sorry. Yeah, I'm a pretty girl and I curse and I say fuck a lot. So.
And Cal says she's way too logical.
Sorry about that.
They all think I'm a robot. They all think I'm a robot.
But yeah, no, I was livid.
Sorry.
When I was livid when I found out that they were going back into the old books in PDF form, and basically in the same area as the publication information, adding this warning to all their work. as if it was somehow dirty and wrong to play D&D.
Right.
Right.
You know,
Which is
this is the point where I want to take a black a chisel tip Sharpie and go through and just redact the fuck out of it.
Well, because the thing is, I was on with Red Room yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I said one of the things I love about them is that they are a callback to back when you were playing games your mom used to hate. Right? Right. Now my parents are weird. My parents are very supportive and liked it, and I love that stuff. Right? But what I don't like is being treated like I'm a scumbag. And of all the things, like if you said, I don't know, Joe, you like that World of Darkness, that's a little weird. I'd be like, yeah, I like Say flesh crafting. I'm a monster, right? But if somebody looks at me and says, "Oh, you play that D&D?" It's like, no, D&D is for everyone. D&D is the Captain Crunch of gaming. It's nice, right? And then when somebody's like, "Oh, you play that old, racist, bigoted D&D, you must be the scum," it's like, what the?
Can you point to anywhere that it's racist? Like, can anyone point that out?
This is where the argument of bioessentialism comes in, right. Where I'm serious. This is actually in the article. This is in the article.
Okay. All right, bioessentialism is an academic concept, but if you really want to see it in use for these doucheballs, look up a guy named Legal Kimchi. He's a business lawyer running his mouth about shit he does not understand, claiming to be an expert in D&D, explaining to you why you having orcs be green and evil makes you a racist.
Wow.
Well, here we'll just do this again.
Am I committing cultural appropriation as well while we're on this?
Oh, I'm sure if they can find a way to say you are,
they'll
will
figure it out. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But here it is. But for every 2 steps forward, they take 1 step back. Trammell said, citing a recent publication's inclusion of a simian race of humanoids reminiscent of old minstrel shows. They're talking about the Hadozi in the new Spelljammer.
Right, in the new Spelljammer that was already garbage and already had reasons to not like it, they also, for reasons that shock everyone, included a race of apes, of flying monkeys.
No, they took the existing Hadozi and they completely reworked them into this like complete. I mean, like it's pretty stunning. Holy shit.
They made them a slave class in the setting, right? But instead of just looking at it and going, wow, that's both tone deaf and stupid, and moving on, because this is the game that also has evil clowns as your primary antagonist, right? Instead of just saying, that's dumb, no, it's bioessentialism, and it makes the whole game evil. All of it is wrong.
And here it is. Wizards of the Coast also recently presented new vernacular for the upcoming rule changes to the game, replacing instances of race with species. At best, I think this is an earnest appeal to fans that WoTC is taking the representation of race seriously in its games. But I really think this may quash some of the important dialogue that is happening around the topic within fan communities, said Trammell. The problem never was that race was a concept in fantasy worlds. Instead, it has been that fantasy worlds are the product of any number of white supremacist tropes that mirror those in their own. Essentialism is baked into the system of D&D. It's in its DNA.
Let him talk for a second.
I'm getting this. Hold on.
Come on, guys.
They're getting to where this links up is they're talking about Gary Gygax again.
Oh.
They're talking about him being this. Oh, he may not have known he was racist, but he was, and it's like.
So, for anyone who didn't put a crown up their nose when they were 6 and it's still lodged there, the thing of it is that the existence of evil is not a biological imperative in D&D, right?
Mm.
And to unilaterally assert that having things I don't like makes you a racist and that's everyone everywhere is a nonsense argument, right?
Well, because there's no counter to it.
and then it also ignores actual context of actual things, because everybody was mad about orcs because orcs is racist. Everyone was mad about the Hadozi, but nobody comments on the conspicuous lack of Calibans in Ravenloft, right? Which are basically orcs in Ravenloft. They don't exist in 5e, right? And then as you go through other 5e products, right? Okay, well they did Chult, which is supposed to be fantasy Africa, except it's not. It's fantasy Western edge of the Middle East plus dinosaurs, and not very good, right? And then they did this guide to Ravenloft with other settings, and what do we have? We have a offensive stereotype of Hindu India, and we have another offensive stereotype of Imperial China, and these are really badly done. And then they did the Radiant Citadel and said, hey, you know what? What if we made a book, and our only selling point was that it's all done by authors of color who are first-time writers. And then we said, hey, what if we just made the worst, least interesting setting possible with no internal conflict, because everyone is mind-controlled to be nice and play Kumbaya. And then we had Day of the Dead with fantastically racist Mesoamerican caricatures of Aztecs in your fantasy game, and this is forward thinking.
And after lecturing all of us that someone else's culture is not your costume,
right?
That's exactly what they went and did.
What the fuck? How do you guys even? My head hurts right now. How do you?
We're damaged. We're damaged people.
I'm damaged by proxy now. Jesus Christ.
We have to spread the infection or we'll die.
I feel like Ripley and Aliens.
It's a pandemic level at this point. Mask and vax, y'all.
I feel like Ripley and Aliens. Like, did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?
Look. All you have to know is that once you've got the flamer, if you turn that corner, the alien queen's going to come out, but instead of just hissing at you, it's going to have the voice of Anita Sarkeesian giving talking points from feminist frequency. That's what we're in.
Well, that's way scarier than the alien itself. Oh, man.
Gygax was right. I agree. Gygax was right. And here's the thing. Even in first edition AD&D, second edition, they actually address, having everybody at the table, and everybody, just sit down and play a game. Second edition, they say, even though we use the pronouns he and him, we're not excluding anyone. Anyone can come into this game and still play. It doesn't mean that, this is just the most commonly used. That's it. That's the only reason we're using it. Vampire the Masquerade kept using she and hers pronouns in the game because they wanted to be a little progressive. And I was like, this level of progression in Vampire, I was able to just ignore it. It was fine. I didn't care.
I don't even think it's progressivism. I think it's minimal effort to be different. Everybody else uses he and him. We use she and her. We're radical. It's like, nah. Because the species thing is the same thing. Oh, we don't use race. We use species, which is a synonym for race, you lying sacks of fecal matter.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, everybody, there were a couple videos I came across where people were defending changing race to species, and they made it make sense. And I get it, because let's face it, elves are from another dimension. That they're not human, they're humanoid. Same with orcs, same with everything else. But when you get to something like let me just think here. When you get to something like owlbears, yeah, that's a species.
Unrelated, Moots, I love your house. It's so amazing.
Yes, it is.
It's all wood and brick, and she's got the giant spaghetti pot back there that can feed an entire troop. It's like, yes.
Well, this is actually a hunting cabin, and yes, I'm a woman and I shoot things as well. So this isn't my house, but this is the family hunting cabin that I'm hanging out at today.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
And I'm keeping the fires going, so if you see me walking around, it's because I'm.
See, I don't want to play D&D in a castle, even though playing D&D in a castle would be great. But I would totally play D&D at a hunting lodge if it's snowing outside and there's nowhere else to go. You just crowd around the fire.
Yes.
Crowd around the fire with the table and the dice and be like,
well,
okay,
check this out.
Here we go. Deep dive.
You're going to love this. Check this out.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy, here we go.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
There, and look at the chairs.
Oh, my God. That
looks
amazing.
Wait a minute. Look at the window there. Is that another table with chairs?
Yes, look at this table. This is
oh my God. Oh my God, yes. Yes.
And there's 2 chairs here if you just kind of want to like just sit there and rabble, you know, whatever.
How stupid is it that we're super excited about a game space we don't get to play in?
Ladies and gentlemen, may I offer this as a bit of just a little something fun.
Okay.
Inn of the Last Home. Moots is standing in Inn of the Last Home. That's exactly how I pictured it in my head when it was described in the Dragonlance novels. Yodano would be proud.
That's the thing, because obviously we've moved away from WoTC just because it hurts to talk about. We don't want to. Yeah, we don't want to talk about it anymore. But other things before we get on to talking about indie, because it's coming. It'll wrap around. So I believe I mentioned I resolved my issue with my landlady.
Right.
And I got enough funds to support my house so I can live here and be comfortable. But that means once I'm done cleaning and moving out stuff, I now live in the gamer house. The gamer house is returned. When I lived back in 70 down the street around the corner, my friends would come to my house every week and we'd play like D&D and stuff. Right? So now this is Gamer House 2.0, and I got more space.
Oh, nice.
So it's like, I mean, it's ridiculous. I have 3 televisions now, right? And it's like, I've got a mountain of DVDs and stuff, but I've got multiple tables for gaming. I'm gonna get to clear my kitchen table and turn that into the game table. Put the mat down. I got chairs. We got munchies. I got a standing freezer. I am gonna make this house so gamer, and at some point I'll have to like carry around my phone recording and show you guys my gamer zone.
Oh yeah,
so you can see all my stuff when it's ready.
Yeah, once you get that set up, we definitely have to see that.
Oh yeah,
that's a must.
But this also means when you're talking about scheduling, getting things done. Once I have resolved a couple of outstanding issues that need to get done, like cleaning the house and signing paperwork, I have more free time for my gaming space.
Nice.
I will actually be able to run things for a while. I might be able to play things. I might grab Wolfgar by the face and go, "You are coming with me to a dark place."
You grab my face, I will boop your fucking snoot, son.
I must boop the newt. but no, I'm just saying, like, we've been talking off and on about but we've been talking off and on about various games we'd like to run and do and things, and now I can do those things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the best part is as I told the guys at Red Room, I'm working on some stuff for Wretched Darkness, right? And I'm gonna play test it, and if I'm gonna play test it, I might as well stream it. So I might as well just grab my online people and be like, "Hey guys, we're gonna play some Wretchedverse. Let's go be scum."
Well, I mean, you're basically anti-heroes in that
right.
In that series of games, and I've offered this before. Just kind of go like taking an idea from WoTC that I think is actually okay. Wretched Apocalypse, which is like your Mad Max post-apocalyptic game, and then putting like when you do have the vehicular combat or something like that, use Gaslands Refueled or Car Wars, and there you go. You've got an actual board game where you can actually settle actually resolve parts of the vehicular combat alone.
Well, the reason I bring it up, to bring it back around and get us on to the next subject and so on, is because when I talked to them, I basically said, what's your guys' opinion of the WoTC thing? I didn't want to start a huge conversation, but I want to know what they thought, because it's kind of dispiriting to have just started a project, like literally the day before started a project, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, we're taking away your OGL, your product might be screwed. I know Victor is worried about that.
Yeah.
And Red Room was like, we'll make the changes to our system we have to. We're not going to be stopped by this. We don't need their permission to run game.
Let's say Lancelot's Cart said, to get technical, medieval philosophers did use the Latin word species to mean something like natural kind. So it's not altogether outside of period. Even so, not common speech of ordinary folk. That's
Absolutely.
True. And then this one, between sentient beings, I think race sounds better than species. Species sounds perfect if we are in a sci-fi setting where the word species was coined later than the medieval period that D&D is in. I can see both sides of that argument, really. And of course, Shadow and Sun, Gaslands is awesome. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. But that's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, is chat different than comments?
Actually, the chat is the comments.
Okay, because I had
they're one and the same. Yeah.
I know Cal asked me a question, and I was.
Oh yeah, he was actually asking where your hunting cabin is. Where is Inn of the Last Home?
Well, it's in northeastern PA.
Are we going to find Kender there? I really want to meet Cass.
Wait a minute, you're from PA?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My mom was from PA.
Really?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Very cool. But on to independent gaming, because I think we've kind of waded into that water now.
Exactly.
That Cal, that was Pennsylvania. Yep. So I think we do have, like, a lot of people are worried about their options shutting down. And one of the worries I saw this morning was the biggest worry is that game companies like Paizo, which I don't have an interest in Pathfinder. I kind of looked at the massive size of that core rule book. I mean, granted, coming from me, I bought Dungeon Crawl Classics. I mean, come on. That is a pretty big core book. I think it would have been better served for Player's Handbook, DM's Guide, and Bestiary or whatever. But that's beside the point. It's just I looked at it and just it didn't. I don't think I connected with it. But Paizo and these larger companies, the concern is that WoTC will be trying to cut them some kind of sweetheart deal on the back end of things. So I think a lot of the larger companies will be okay. I think the smaller companies will have to do a hell of a lot of editing and then try to resell the books they've already sold. Some are going to be just cut out altogether. But I'm saying this right now. I don't think it's going to be a worry if the 1.1 is opt-in for the new version of D&D. I don't think it's going to be a worry. But it's still a legitimate concern. But what I'm saying is that's why I've steered my attention toward the Red Room, Troll Lord Games, Elflayer Games, Old School Essentials, so Necrotic Gnome, Lamentations of the Flame Princess, Mythmere now owns Swords and Wizardry, Frog God Games. Those companies, those are games. Those are where I'm directing like my focus now, because I think it's unconscionable for Wizards to not it. I mean, how long has it been now since that leak dropped?
Well, here's the thing. Let me ask Moots a question, because I don't know Moots as well as I know you. Moots, do you like metal?
Like music?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I like metal. What are you talking about?
Okay. No, this is pertinent. So here's the thing. Back in the day, as you know, PMC, Tipper Gore, tried to take away your metal music.
That's right.
Right? And everybody said, screw that. And everybody remembers, Frank Zappa and the lead singer of Twisted Sister coming down on it and surprising everyone with their eloquence and their clarity of commentary. and destroying the idea. It's like, you can't take my music because you can't take away my expression, right? Well, some years later, because of the moral panic over the hot coffee mod, which wasn't even an official element of a game, it was a hacker unlocking content that was not to be released. Hillary Clinton tried to take away your video games and got stopped. But I was always of the concern, I'm like, video games is not as cohesive an environment because gamers will just sit and play games and ignore it, right? And there was a potential for their things to get taken away. WoTC has made a mistake ideologically because tabletop gamers are not like other kinds of gamers. Will we sit and just play at our table? Yes. But we are primarily a group of writers and philosophers and thinkers and people who read and people who keep notebooks.
And problem solvers.
And problem solvers.
And critical thinkers.
And just like the metalheads, what's going to happen, I think, is it's like, oh, you didn't like that Paizo cut into your bottom line? Good job. You just made 5 Paizos. Because that's what's going to happen.
That's true. They did.
That's what's going to happen is now guys like myself and Wolfgar, hey, Wolfgar, you want a job? Are going to start coming together and we're going to start making our own game with hookers and blackjack. And we're going to have our own company. And it's going to be awesome. And when they say, but that's not D&D. We're like, yeah, it's better.
No shit.
Way better than your shit.
We're all about hookers and blow at our table.
Yes, we are.
Because you can make us. Because you can look. Some of us can be baited. We will punch you in the face.
Yeah.
But others of us will be angry and we'll hold on to it forever. Vengeance.
We have long memories.
Vengeance is an art form for gamers because we plan our murders very carefully in Minecraft.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
I said, careful. You don't want Hillary Clinton to come out of the goddamn woodwork and be like, "Oh,
well, no, like I said, it's in
plotting
Minecraft.
Murders now." It's
only Minecraft. I wouldn't kill people in real life. Only in Minecraft.
I know.
Yeah, only Minecraft. But this is one of those things like with 4th edition. When that started to tank, because it did not last long, 5th edition was WoTC's mea culpa, and they were like, we want the old school players back because we want to introduce D&D to these new players too, and we need that guidance. My goodness, how quickly they abandoned that.
Well, the extra
promises made, empty promises made, promises broken.
Well, here's the extra hilarity. Did you see the meme that I put on the internet today? I don't meme a lot. Oh, all right, let me dig that up for you.
Yeah,
I want to see it now.
Yeah,
must see memes.
Because
check these out.
Because this has happened before, very recently, and people seem to have forgotten.
Yeah.
Sorry, sidebar.
It's all good.
Rune, what do you got? I want to see.
I'm working on it. I gotta go as fast as I can go.
Go, hurry up.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Stop pushing me. I'm fragile.
Smokey, he's fragile. He's very fragile.
You fucking man, baby. Get that meme now.
Wolfgar, Moose is being mean to me.
What the fuck is your it's in the private. Get that meme up.
The link is in the private. Bring that thing up.
Woo, shit.
On my Twitch space.
Holy shit! I just channeled my dad.
your inner Tackleberry was showing.
Oh, that was awesome.
But it's in the private chat. Pull that up.
Okay, here I'll go to the private chat right now.
Why do I have to do all the work?
No. Wolfgar pull it up because then he'll put it on the stream for everybody else to see.
I'm gonna put it right up on the screen here. Here we go.
Because I don't meme a lot. I'm not good at it, but every so often.
You got a zinger?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do that. Here
Raven, let's go. Jesus Christ. All right, let's see what this says.
Right. So here's the thing. I want to say 6 months ago, maybe more like 9. No, we can go back further. So in order to protect their copyrights, Games Workshop not only killed Warhammer Fantasy because it wasn't selling, right? But they retooled under the End Times Warhammer 40K, right? And people hated it. They can't give it away. Nobody's buying. right? So they've started what I'm calling the Great Backpedal. They're bringing back Warhammer Fantasy as a specialty game. Like, look, we can do the game you like too. It's like, yeah, you can, but that's not the only time they screwed this up. Because I want to say about 9 months ago, they looked at YouTube and said, wow, there's a lot of people doing really good animations of our game system and lots of free advertising, and they're doing it better than our official products and kind of embarrassing us because we're cheapskates. You know what we should do? Let's come down on them as hard as possible and claim all their stuff and make it so they can't make more. And people were so mad that they went and started playing BattleTech.
Well, it gets better than that. It's not the only two fuck-ups. They actually, in one of their updated rule sets, eliminated an entire army. Right. And one YouTuber took, and this must have been thousands of dollars worth of merchandise.
Who burned his vampire princess?
Took it out, put it on a garbage can, and lit it on fire. He was so pissed off. And then, what was it, like a month later, they handed down the new rules that army was reinstated. I was like,
yeah, see, I would never have destroyed my property. But my point is, the reason I bring it up is you'd think that WoTC, being that they're a division of Hasbro, who watch their competition, would have seen this happen to Games Workshop and go, well, we shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But instead, their perception is, well, that won't happen to us. That just happens to Games Workshop. So their failures are success. And it's like, no, you dumb motherfuckers. If you do that, you will get the exact same response. Exactly. We hate when you mess with our games.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, look, we're not the type, like gamers like us, we're not the type to take our books out and start burning them. That's dumb.
Yeah, no.
That is a dumb move. You know what? We're the type that'll close our wallets to you and say, no more. Well, no more money. Sorry. It's just not going to happen. If you release a new version, we'll just go, hey, we'll stick with the old version. I'm pretty sure I can, because reminder, in Crossface, thank goodness for Crossface. Crossface mentioned something on Victor's One Shots live stream that I was like, that's right, because it took me back to childhood. Only one person actually needs any material to bring the rest of the players in. Only one, the GM. That's it.
This is all because WoTC misunderstands some information they drew, right? Which everyone's talking about, and I keep getting videos poking about it. WoTC drew statistical data because businesses do that, and said, we're under-monetized because DMs buy most of the content, right? So that's why they're trying to find more ways to have more people spend money. What they're assuming is that because DMs spend the money, DMs must be rich. We're the whales. We buy all the stuff. It's like, no, we're often poor. This is a blue-collar hobby. Beer and pretzels, people.
Yeah.
Right?
We're not champagne caviar here.
Exactly. Exactly. But it's like, okay, well, how much money have you spent on games this year, Joe? Probably too much. Okay. Well, how often did you spend money on games? Probably too often.
Too often, yeah. Right?
And then it's like, oh, so like because of FOMO and because of all these, it's like, no, it's because I'm an addict. I have a several $100 a year gaming habit, but it's safer than meth and more rewarding than cocaine. You know?
Without all the nasty side, the nasty health effects, obviously.
The other thing is, though, and this is very key, is that once I have it forever. My media, on my shelf. You can't take it away. You can't tell me how to use it. You can't. I don't care if you reissue it unless I really, really like it. I've only got the one. It's all I need, right? So when they're like, well, this is under-monetized. We need to squeeze these whales for more. It's like, dude, you're not getting the rich people. You're squeezing blood out of the stone that already gave you blood.
Yeah. And Cal went rookie numbers. I'm going to tell you this much right now, Cal. If you showed me your shelf or shelves of material, because I know Cal's been in this a long fucking time, I would just be like, that's it. I give up. See y'all later.
Hey, look,
Joe's already made me green with envy over his shelves. So
Hey, look, man. I was talking about conserving money and being well behaved, and I've already spent $40 to get a new copy of a book that was in poor repair.
Right, yeah.
So on eBay.
For just a second, but she'll be back. 45. Cal, you've been gaming longer, just a year longer than I've been alive, dude.
Hey, like, for real. I did the math. I've been in this hobby 31 years, so he's got me beat by a like almost 2 decades.
Yeah, I've only been in it. Let's see. I started seriously at about 15 or 16, and I'm 44 now. So it's been a little while, but not quite as like this last couple of years. I've been into it more seriously now than ever because I was like, hey, why don't I get back into that? I can, I lost all my other stuff, but now my library is bigger than ever. So
I'm going to be 42 this year, and I started when I was 7. So
to fill that cabin also can include guns and ammo. Holy shit! Nice. We'll hold out against WoTC's forces.
That's the thing. Everybody talks about what they would do at the end of the world, right? And it's like if gamers were rich, we would all have bunkers, but it wouldn't be because we want a bunker to hide out from the bomb, although that helps, right? It's because we'd have our games in the bunker.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone's like, I'm going to be John McClane when the end comes. Like,
no, you're not.
It's like, well, what are you going to do? It's like, I'm going to be the guy who has books and is and is the chieftain of your tribe. That's what we're going to do.
Yep.
It's like, but why? It's like, because in addition to having, all of this storytelling material, so I can tell you tales of the world before, I have the Foxfire books. We can build some tables and shit. I can tell you how to build a log cabin in the wild.
Definitely. And and not for nothing, the one thing I think is probably the biggest solution is it's kind of a tired thing to say because a lot of gamers who have been gaming as long, if not longer than us, are saying I haven't bought anything from WoTC in however many years. I haven't bought anything from WoTC since 3.0. So on and so forth. They lost me at 4.0, stuff like that. But the thing is, I think I'm kind of two minds here. Number one, that backlash needs to be there, and it needs to be a lot louder than that stupid little minority that has caused this. And on top of that, with the new Dread OGL here, they're talking about it's going to be a purity test. If they don't like something of yours because it, they see something in it, they're going to act like Tipper Gore. And like D. Snyder said, well, if Tipper was looking for this, well, then she found it because she was looking for it. And in reality, this is what it's about. They weren't trying to hear that, and they won't try to hear that. This is the kind of thing that's what I'm saying. The absolute backlash needs to be there. It needs to be felt swift. It needs to be felt hard. And it needs to be lasting.
All right, Raven. Let's talk about indies for a minute. I'm going to tell you some things that exist. I wish Moots was here because she'd be like, "Oh, that sounds amazing." I'm going to tell you about Wretched Darkness for a minute. I'm going to use your platform to ad campaign for Red Room for just a minute, but it's relevant. Okay, what is in this book? What's in this book? Well, besides the standard stuff that you see across Wretched Games, how to make a character and the like. Okay, races. Children of the Night. What if you were born with a predisposition towards mutation and strange monstrousness through no fault of your own? Okay? And your parents are monsters that live underground, a la Clive Barker's Nightbreed.
That's cool.
Okay. Deva, what if you were Christopher Walken from The Prophecy?
Yes!
Okay. Incubi, Succubi. Okay. Lugaroo are werewolves, obviously. Yep. And their spelling for vampire is Wampire because they're using the classic. Okay.
Right.
Okay, so then you have all the usual combat stuff. Magic and psychics, right? Massive section on magic and psychics with multiple types of magic and multiple styles of cultism, including a picture that is either somewhere between Venger and Anton LaVey and could possibly be yourself. They have an AR art image that looks like you. I can pull it up if you want.
Oh, pull it up. I've got to see this.
Well, let me finish giving you the rundown. So they have Cybertech and Biotech if you want to use Wretched Darkness with Wretched New Flesh.
Right.
Okay. They've got Zombie Apocalypse. They've got the Wretched Darkness setting. And then they have so much lore. So many factions. Just pages and pages of stuff, including expanded stuff for the Apostles of Pain, if you like sexual holocaust.
Yes!
Okay? So much stuff for tying into their other game lines. So you can use Wretched Darkness with Wretched Bastards. You can use Wretched Darkness with Wretched West, with their Twin Peaks setting, with the Wretched Epoch, all these things. Okay, that sounds pretty neat. They have a location. They've created another dimension called the Beyond.
Oh yeah, that's been around. Yeah,
right. Well, in the Beyond is a place called the Derelict City. Okay, it's like a major metropolitan city divided into fiefdoms based around the 7 deadly sins.
Oh my goodness! Seriously,
where the creatures exist to torture sinners. Okay. Well, here's the thing. Here I am. I'm a World of Darkness fan. The World of Darkness no longer serves my interests. Right. So I'm working on an accessory for Red Room. What am I making? I've taken a concept that I showed Miguel for Wretched Bastard. Said, this is kind of what I do. What do you think? And he said, yeah, that's pretty us. That's pretty on model. Okay. So I'm expanding it out. I'm updating it for Wretched Darkness. I'm making a tome called The Red Ministries. And it's about vampires and vampire culture in the Beyond. Because once you drink blood and you don't care about mortals, why are you worried about their suffering? Why not live in the Beyond and rule as minor princes? Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay. Well,
hold that thought for just a moment, because we have a question for you. It's right here. Brian asks, what is an Apostle of Pain?
It's a Cenobite.
It's a Cenobite.
From Hellraiser.
It's a Hellraiser-esque Cenobite.
Right.
And these things, let me tell you, if you check out, which one was it? I think it was Wretched Epoch. No. It was Sexual Holocaust. Sexual Holocaust gives you kind of like an intro to these beings. And Wretchploitation and Wretched Epoch also kind of touch on that. And now in Wretched Darkness, it expands. Like you gotta go through the series. The series is amazing. And the great thing about the Red Room stuff is it's all cross compatible. All of it.
So here's the thing. I want to read you an excerpt from what I'm working on, but do you want something that is what we're doing style, or do you want something that is fluff style?
Give us fluff. Fluff.
All right, fluff. So the first section that I'm working on is various factions to define how the Red Ministries operate, and they are subdivided by towers. Each borough of the city has a tower. Okay. And the first one's called the Desolate Tower. It's an abandoned tower that's fallen in the ruined part of town. Okay? There came a time in which Nimrod, greatest of all hunters, commanded the people of Shinar to build him a city. When it was built, the king then ordained they should continue to build, for no man or beast was as mighty as Nimrod, king of kings. So why should he not dwell in a tower as high as Yahweh? And so the people wept and begged Yahweh to save them, for in his hubris was the madness of Nimrod made manifest. Those who could not or refused to work were taken out of the city into the wilderness and offered up to the altar as sacrifices to Nimrod. The great king then ate the sweetmeats and drank the gore from many sacrifices. Yea, he took his pleasures from the lithe virgin flesh and wives of those who died in his name. And when they no longer pleased him, their bone and gristle was as mortar for the stories of his great tower. In sorrow and affront did the great God Yahweh cast down the Tower of Babel in lightning, And to those people of the city, he cursed them that they should no longer speak the true tongue of man. And to Nimrod, rebellious king, who was a craven animal like a serpent in the garden, he was afflicted with the mark of Cain and driven into the wastes beyond, there to dwell among the ruins of the tower in badness.
Holy shit.
I just got lost in that.
Jesus, that was intense.
I just got lost in that. That was awesome.
It's like, I want more of this now.
I do.
I do, definitely. And here's something. Hellraiser came off better on page than movie, I thought, because of the literature that it references. I do agree, but I'm going to say this, that new Hellraiser was amazing.
I didn't see it.
Oh my God. Holy shit.
I mean, your mileage varies based on book. The first film is great. The second film is pretty good. I have a soft spot for the third film, which is awful. But then like Hellraiser 4 and above, you can skip.
Yeah, you can.
But anyway, it's like, no, I outright was telling people that Red Room's work is very much retro 90s horror in the style I grew up with, and I love it, and I want more of it.
And they cover so much, though. I mean, they cover fantasy, they cover westerns, they cover the Belle Epoque, which you could stitch that together with Trollord Games' game Victorious. And I'm going to say this: if you haven't checked out Victorious, definitely do. It is totally worth your time. Wretchedverse covers like the old Grindhouse movies, and you could just go on and on from there. They cover so many time periods that there's a seat for every bottom with them, and I love it.
Well, here's the fun part, because everybody talks about AI art. AI art's a big thing right now, and fortunately, unfortunately, Red Room has to lean pretty hard on AI art to meet their creatives, right? I am also loosely affiliated with the unspoken side of comics in the indies, ye old Comics Gate, because I've tried to get a comic made before and couldn't quite swing it. And I know some people. And to make my tome I'm working on different, I approached a comic artist and said, man, you're one of the best comic artists we've got. How much would it cost to have you just do my cover? Right? And he was like, well, what do you got in mind? So I told him about the Wretchedverse. I told him about their style, and I showed him some examples of the sort of late 90s or early 90s, late 80s horror art that I like. And I said, I want to do this. And he said, okay, well, you're my friend. I like you, and I like your idea. I think it has some real go juice. So, well, here's what I'll do. I'll cut you a deal. Okay, so he's actually offering not just to do my cover, but to do internal. So
okay, I missed it.
Awesome.
Who was it? Who was it?
His name is John Dillard.
Okay,
but I'm having a comic artist do comic style late 80s, early 90s comic horror art for my accessory.
Awesome. That's gonna be awesome
for Red Room. Nice. It's gonna be great.
Oh my God.
And like with the whole AI art thing, that was part of the reason I just ditched my project, because I was so sick of fucking hearing it. Over that I was just like, you know what? You do it. That's why I was just like, fuck it. Anybody's got the fucking notes to this goddamn thing, you do it. I'm out. Hey, this is way too much bullshit to deal with. And here we go. Here's we'll add this.
Right. So that's either Anton LaVey, Venger, or your glorious self.
Oh, or all
in
three
the
of
Wretchedverse.
Holy shit! Look at that. That is amazing. Holy shit!
That's awesome.
I'm gonna say the eyebrows are the eyebrows and eyes are definitely not me, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, it does have shades of Anton LaVey and Venger, and of course, as Don points out so eloquently, Ming the Merciless.
Oh yes,
I love it.
But here's the thing, because you can see on the bookmarks here, as I mentioned, it's built in to tie into every single setting for every single style of Wretchedverse that you like, right?
Yeah.
So, as a for instance, there is a version of Avalod from Wretched Epoch in the Beyond.
Oh, nice.
Right. So it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's ever pervasive, and they also have whoa shit. Jesus, that's fucking terrifying.
Oh yeah.
As a matter of fact,
I don't want to do too much from the book because it's a Red Room book. They have a lot of courtesy stuff we probably shouldn't look at.
Yeah. There's.
Wait, I want to see that again. So cool.
Yeah, bring that up again. Bring it up again. I'll share it again.
All right. I can share that image because that one's safe. But if I go to the wrong page, there could be a boob. And YouTube.
Oh, I'm okay with boobs.
Oh, I know you're okay with boob. YouTube's not.
Oh. Yeah, it's YouTube.
YouTube is like.
YouTube wait a minute. Hold on. Whoa, hold on. Now, if YouTube has such a thing against boobs, I gotta wonder, how is it that I found Rodney Carrington's video for "Show Them to Me" and was able to successfully post it to Twitter in response to some lady's meme who was I can't remember exactly what it was now, but it's in there somewhere. It was matter of fact, I'll try to find it here, see what's going on. Profile, here we go, because I know I posted that video. Oh, here we go. A single kind word or a photo of your boobs can make somebody's day. And I posted a link to Rodney Carrington's video, "Show Them to Me," where he's on stage and he's singing this song. When he gets to the chorus, he turns the house lights on, and women and men, very fat men, are flashing him. And it's hilarious. But for us, they'll probably bring the banhammer down.
Speaking of things from the Wretchedverse that I like, I really appreciate when they work in literary references. One of the areas of the derelict city is called Slaughterhouse 6.
Nice.
For anybody who watches movies and reads books.
Vonnegut again, man.
I love it.
Now, I'm looking for a particular book. I'm just not seeing it. Or a particular image, rather.
Oh, that's beautiful. Whoa.
Well, I mean, that's all AI art. They get some of the really good AI art. There's a lot of bad stuff out there, too.
And here's the thing, like, Joe, you sent me a video, and at the time that you sent me that video from Shadowversity, who it took him like an hour and 45 minutes or so to pick apart the arguments. And I gotta say this, he did it well. At first I was like, I'm not fucking interested in this shit.
Look at that.
I don't want to hear it. And then I was like, it bugged me the whole time I was at work. It like literally sat in my fucking head. And I got home and I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch this. And I sat down and I actively watched it and listened to him. And I was like, dude, where were you like several weeks ago? I could have used all this.
Shad is not one of my favorite people, full stop. But the reason I don't like, not pay attention is because every so often I pass around something interesting to someone who does care. And you're one of those people, But yeah, no, there's this that I'm working on for Red Room. And then the other thing, which when I told Miguel about it, Miguel was like, I'd play that. I made half a document for World of Darkness that I'm scrubbing the World of Darkness out of and converting over to Red Room. It's called Necrosis. Okay.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
So what happens when you're a normal person and your either genetic predisposition activates or you catch a supernatural disease, right? And your only way to survive is not just to cannibalize people. You're not a zombie, right? But to eat the flesh of dead people that has been, pickled is a good start, but cured, by letting it decay. You don't become a sexy Renfield. You become a literal ghoul.
Jeez.
So it's like, but the thing is, there's power in it. So it's like, wait, I can go eat dead people from the graveyard and get strong. It's like, yeah, but you're eating dead people from a graveyard, which is kind of gross.
That's just
it's like
that's just nasty.
It's like, gross. So wait, so what kind of powers do you gain from eating dead people? So it's not like Wendigo. It's like opposite Wendigo.
Well, no. Wendigo would be like that would involve eating a sentient cannibalism style. This is eating people long dead or possibly partially dead. And when I say partial, I mean like recently, but decayed. So the thing is that you're eating them to preserve your own flesh.
Okay.
So you don't rot away.
Oh, because of the necrosis.
Right. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Right. You have the necrosis. You're decaying.
That's just nasty.
It's nasty. But I'll read you my list of perks and drawbacks. So, carrion corpse. You value to steal life by murdering and consuming the flesh of fellow ghouls. Death cultist. You have proven your value to one of the towers or other occult societies that have found both use for you and your particular disease. So you joined a death cult. Progressive degeneration. You begin to evidence the physiological changes that reflect the progress of your infection. Each instance of this perk gives you one or more benefits, but imposes a cumulative -1 penalty on attempts to disguise your condition. When each perk is purchased, choose one of the following options. Predatory eyes. You can see in the dark without penalties. Digging claws. You gain a bonus for equipment to dig with your bare hands. Used offensively, you can ignore an amount of armor equal to the perk. Serpentine tongue. Your tongue has grown both large and long, flailing about in a mouth to which it is unfit. However, you gain the ability to smell the living like a serpent, which grants bonuses to hunt down both living and non-living prey. So you literally whip your tongue out and sniff the air. Grave chameleon. Your skin has become gray and somewhat translucent. In low light conditions, such as in a mausoleum or underground, if you stop moving and hold still, you gain bonuses to stealth. This also counts as an added negative when one attempts to locate you in similar conditions. Quiet of the grave. You now heal in a way similar to that of the life drinkers. When there's a human flesh in your belly, you can crawl into a sarcophagus, coffin, or even the loamy earth of a grave and sleep to restore your health. This does nothing to repair the physical appearance of your wounds, which may well be awful, but it does restore an amount of damage equal to the number of times you've taken the perk per day when you sleep.
That sounds brutal.
Mother ghoul. In Arabic folklore, it is sometimes suggested that there are ghouls who have somehow exerted influence over and create others of their kind. This is a misunderstood reflection of the necrosis itself, as the tendency of necrophagists to gather into nests. However, it has some truth as well, as particularly advanced nests may develop something like a hive mind. You are able to exert influence over other infected necrophages.
Ooh, I like that one.
And they just get freakier. Crypt creep. You can gain necrosis from consuming things that aren't expressly human, not just animals, but the detritus and refuse of human life. Garbage, medical waste, and even more unseemly materials can provide one necrosis per occasion you choose to wallow in the filth of humanity.
That's my daily life.
I just got this nasty mental image of Brad Pitt and Edward Norton in Fight Club when they snagged the liposuction bag on the razor wire. And
that's right.
And Brad Pitt's underneath it going, ah.
Well, that's the thing. You think about Brad Pitt, right? If he was a necrophage, he'd have beautiful corpse. It requires a charisma at a certain benchmark. Somehow you don't evidence the revolting decay of other necrophages. No matter how mutated or strange you become, your physical form retains some semblance of humanity that others can connect with or perversely desire. Negatives from your state become a bonus to social interactions. At a casual glance, your sight and smell are pleasing to the senses, as long as you do not undertake actions which reveal the monster you've become.
Right.
So you have Brad Pitt, he's wearing the red jacket, he's got the sunglasses, he looks real cool, and then you see him just eating away at that fat, and it's like, and on one level you're like, ugh, and then on another level you're like, well, this is normal.
Necrophage nesting, yeah. And here's Don said AI art, I think it's okay for indies. I think it's fine due to cost, but for major publishers it's just cheap and easy. As an artist, not professionally anymore, I can see both sides of the conflict. And that was something we covered on the last podcast, where it was, when I was mentioning this, I was like, Chaosium and all these other companies were just, look, Robin, the virtue signal. I mean, they were turning that thing on, and they were like, oh, we would never use AI, not in anything. And if you use AI, you do not work for us. And it's like, no shit, you have the budgets. Of course you wouldn't use it. That's stupid. But I'm going to say, give it time. Give it time. That virtue signal is going to get shut off, and they'll be like, well, we just won't talk about that. But that was the thing. Like, that's the other thing. It keeps these Wretchedverse books at such a reasonable price point that it makes sense, and it's not stealing any art. In fact, one of Shad's points was uploading an image of a bus for the AI to study its dimensions and everything, and then making something out of that is not stealing the art. It's not copying it piece by piece. It's not copying it wholesale and passing it off as its own. And that was like the major difference. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. But this was like the Wretchedverse one. I can tell you this. I don't think Troll Lord uses AI art, but I think I've seen some stuff that's here and there throughout the website that they posted that might, but for the most part, I'm seeing, like, I think even in the Codex books, it's not a bunch of big flashy color art. It's a lot of like old school style art. It's a lot in black and white. And personally, I'm good with it. Like,
the thing is that the issue is not that AI art is bad, or that it's going to steal jobs from artists. There will always be places for artists to do art. Maybe not as many as there were, but there will always be a value for having an artist, right?
Yeah.
It's the potential that these new mechanisms have for major companies to gouge us. That's the problem, right? Every time Games Workshop invents a new way to making miniatures cheaper, right? They never lower prices. They never go, it's cheaper now, so here, we're going to give the price savings back to you. No, they raise those prices. They spike them and say, well, we have to make up the difference on our research. It's like, yeah, the research you paid for at your expense is my fault. So I have to pay more now, and that price will never go down. For less minis. And they say, well, you'll value the minis you get more. It's like, no, if I need 20 guardsmen, and you've gone from selling 20 to 10, I'm waiting for the day you try to tell me 5 guardsmen of value. Right? Yep. It's not the same for a small indie. Right? And one of the things that you and I know is going to happen is that the few sources of free AI art, or the few qualitative artificial intelligences that are available, they're going to get paywalled. They're going to get put behind a wall, or they're going to become corporatized, or they're going to get bought out, and they're not going to be available in the future. They're going to pull those tools right out of the hands of the people who tested them to prove that they were viable, right? And basically, indies are either going to have to shell out more upfront to do AI, right? Or they're going to have to tighten the belt and pay artists. And it's going to continue to be a place where regular art gets done. As illustrated, I could do the AI art, but I actively sought out a comic artist that I want a unified personality for the art of this work, because I think it's a better product. And I prefer black and white because I think black and white has a more grindhouse, rough feeling.
It provides a more stark contrast.
Right, for Wretched Darkness, which should be dark and gritty.
Yeah, this brings up a kind of an interesting an interesting event that happened maybe about a month or two ago. I actually just kind of like threw it out there. I was like, if I think it was John who said that he wanted some like text editing done for he wanted the text to kind of flow and look a little better for the new Cowpunchers that's coming. I was like, I'll do it. I'm pretty good with English. I think I'm pretty good with writing. I learned a lot about like how to word things, how to clean up the verbiage from working corrections, because that's a lot of what we did was report writing. So of all the things that could cause you a lot of damage, it was mostly my pen. If you made me do paperwork, and I did not like to do paperwork, I made you regret making me do paperwork. But I was going through it, and as I'm going through it, he was like, do you want a cut of the money or whatever? I was like, dude, I'll do it for a print and PDF of the book, because we're independent. I know I have no illusions that we're, he's not a colossus of a game studio. And I'm like, that's, I'll just do it for a PDF and a hardcover or a hard copy of the book. I'm good with that. And he was like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Because that's all I'm doing. I'm just fucking around. It was some of the most, I had a lot of fun in that 2 hours that I spent just kind of fucking around with it. And I took breaks. So I'm just sitting there messing with it and making sure it flows and sounds good, and kind of reading back and then going back in again, zooming out and in. That was fun for me. And it's a skill that I've picked up just over many years, stemming back to high school when I would write short stories, poetry, and stuff like that. It's something, thankfully, I've never lost, because I've always been able to kind of just do that. So I was like, if it helps this game, and that was my attitude toward it. If it helps this game, I'll happily do that shit, at a minuscule cost. That way he doesn't have to worry about it. And if it sells more, great. I will do it again. And if things get bigger, maybe we'll kind of talk about that later. But I'm like, hey man, we'll work for RPGs. I'm just
one of the rough things, though, I'm not disagreeing with Igwaz or with what you just said, Wolfgar, is at the same time, if you are the editor, if you're the person whose job it is to do the read and to go over the text, that is an intensely mentally demanding role, right? Is it expensive? Yes, but there's a reason why it's expensive. The people doing it bust their ass. It's not a kind job. Not emotionally, not psychologically, and it's time consuming because the way you read a thing, if you're just reading, is about every third word, right? So if you're editing, you have to do active reading. You have to actively stop and take each sentence one at a time as it's written, which in a sufficiently large work can take a long time and be very rough. But that doesn't mean that the industry isn't also bloated and exploitative for everyone. Because writers are always trying to get away with something on the sly, editorials trying to get away with something on the sly. The real money is in being the publisher, and I would love to say they're useless, but most of where they make their money is basically curating access and making it hard for you to get published.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Role-playing games don't quite have the same problem, but you know that WoTC would love to make it so that they do.
Yeah. And like back in the 90s and everything, getting into that industry was a lot harder than it is now. Now it's the barriers to entry have never been lower, but in some cases, some people are still priced out because they can't afford certain aspects of this. And I do remember, I don't know if it was Grumpy Old Grognard who said this or not, but someone had suggested to me to release Wretched is the New Black with no art. And he said, I think it was him. If I'm wrong, I will admit I'm wrong. As evidenced earlier, I did admit I was wrong. But I'm going to say this. This book by John Battle, this one has art on the cover, has a little bit of art inside of it, but it's about 98% of it's text. And I still, when I got this PDF, I read through it in about 2 or 3 hours. And that was, kind of like taking breaks. And of course I took a nap, but this is a book without a lot of art to it. And let me tell you something, this was probably one of the most involved reads I've ever been a part of. And it's really, really damn good. So honestly, and this was the first, that was the first thing by Battle that I've ever looked into. And then of course I go and I look at his itch.io page, and it's full of stuff. He's done a lot of work, and it's good. Like, I can recommend this even with no art. So I think that there are some exceptions. Classic Traveler being one of them. Classic Traveler had no art, none. It took Mongoose to pick it up to put any artwork to it.
Oh, I got it. I actually did some Caregin on my own, because that's, you can do that. It's almost a game into itself.
Yeah.
I had a 40-year ensign. He never got promoted. He survived multiple tours and wars and violence and death and never got promoted.
Harry Kim?
Just the worst dice rolls.
Yeah, and this, I think Don's right on this one. Reminds me of how many heavy labor favors I did just for a hot meal. I've done that during the aftermath of Hurricane Rita. I helped tarp roofs. I'm going to tell you what really kept me fed was I had a cheap Gerber tool on my hip. I used to wear it just pretty much all the time. If I wasn't at work, that thing was on my hip, and people would see it and be like, "Is that a multi-tool? You know how to use it? Come with us. We'll feed you if you'll lend a hand." I'm like, I'm with you, and no kidding. On my time off during that week and a half without power and triple digit heat, triple digit humidity, I was out there. So yeah, I've been there, done that. And then how about the art from the original D&D 3 booklets? Those were friends drawing, some obvious tracing. It wasn't the greatest, but it was cool. It was, yes.
Hey, Cal has something interesting. Somebody named Tenkar just dropped a new vid.
Yeah, Tenkar from Tenkar's Tavern just plopped a new vid on how the OGL in 2023 is a scorched earth tactic. I do not doubt it. I don't doubt it in the least.
That's going to be interesting watch.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go like directly there right after this. But
and GrimJim started a petition, though he
I signed it. I signed it. Yep.
So did I.
As a matter of fact, let me grab that. I'll put it in
as I signed it, I also watched my career burning.
Right.
Oh, because if you have halfway of a reasonable brain, WoTC's watching it, and they're looking at the names. And that if I ever had the opportunity, like I won a competition or something, and I just walked up to WoTC and be like, "WoTC, I won a thing. Can I work for you?" They'd be like, "No." But why? You signed that thing. You didn't like our thing, so we don't want you. It's like, oh, okay.
Well, I remember John saying at one point in time he thought it would be great to work for. Excuse me. He thought it'd be great to work for WoTC, and then he said afterwards he was like, "Well, I might have kind of dodged a bullet." Makes sense.
This is why in Comicsgate I didn't come off as a lame ass, but I did have some rough times, because I made no bones about it. I said, "Look, man, if Marvel or DC walked into my house right now and said, 'We'll give you the job,' I'd take it. I don't care if they're woke. If they want me to write woke stuff, I'll write woke stuff. It's the job. You get the job, you do it, you hate it, and eventually they give you a book and they let you do your own thing. That's just the way the world works. If WoTC came in my house and said, "Okay, Joe, we'll let you do your own books, we'll let you do your own thing in D&D 6, but you've got to make one woke tome," I'd be like, okay, I'll do a woke tome if I get to do a good tome thereafter.
So, so Moot said she had to go. She had to.
Yeah.
This was a little while ago. She had to go for a bit. Multiple sadness. She said, if you guys are still on, I'll come back in an hour or so. Actually, we're about to wrap up because this has gone about an hour over what I was hoping. But anyway,
it's not even our segues. There's just so much to go over today.
There's a lot to unpack, yeah. And the petition. I've linked the petition, so it's a starred post. You can go right to it. And yeah, Kernos is right. You can change things from the inside. I'd rather WoTC keeps on doing this shit right now because, yeah, well, I mean, I think the solutions to this, I would, and thank you, Don. Thank you so much. And thank all of you for stopping in because this has been such a great discussion. One of the things I wanted to bring up a while back, but I just, we got on independent gaming. We highlighted the Wretchedverse or Red Room, and I can say this, like, I have been all over Twitter making recommendations for games. I've since dropped Labyrinth Lord because Labyrinth Lord has decided they welcome political statements in their games, and I'm like, okay, but I was actually going to jump on the second edition version of it, and I'm like, yeah, not now. But this one, I like this. Gaming belongs with indie creators more so than bean counters or weirdo activists. I cannot agree more. And here's where what I was proposing, and granted, it's just a proposal, and I'd love to hear everyone's take on this. So I'm going to give it a little bit more time. I'm going to go back in history a little bit, since there are people that think it's cowardly to not get political and all this other stuff. And here, well, actually, I got to star that one too. There's the petition. It got divided up into 2 posts. I'm sorry, y'all. But the people who claim that we're cowards for not choosing a side because we're at war, according to them, I don't know what they're at war. Obviously, probably with themselves more than anything. But one of the things that I kind of thought of is going back in history here in the U.S., over 200 years ago, the founders, the people who came over, they built these colonies, they put in the hard work and effort. They were being taxed at, like, I think 3%, more so than what we are being taxed now. But they obviously had problems with the king running things from across the pond here. And they were like, look, we're the ones putting in the work. We're the ones putting in the effort. And the more he tended to kind of put pressure on them, they decided, that's it, no more. So they declared their independence, which of course led to the revolution, which of course led to our Constitution and all that good stuff. I was thinking of a gamer's declaration of independence, where in our statement, we tell WoTC and these other companies who would back them, we tell WoTC first, eat a fat dick. We don't actually need you. We're past that point. We're well past that point. And any companies who side with WoTC, any companies who aren't, we're just here to make games, you do what you want at your table, we're done.
Here's my thing, and bringing up the revolution is well timed to this. There's a little bit of American propaganda you might have seen. It's a wonderful film, not very historically accurate, but who cares, called The Patriot.
Oh, yeah. I've seen it.
And there's a scene that goes under the radar because it's not a throwaway scene, but it's a small scene. Small scenes get missed for big combat and the like.
Mm-hmm.
General Cornwallis is talking to, I think it's Hugo Weaving. It's a scary English bad guy, and basically explaining why you can't use violent guerrilla tactics on the civilians.
Right.
And his argument is not because it's immoral or wrong. It's because when this war is over, we must conduct commerce with these people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, I don't like to think that we're in a quote-unquote culture war. I think that thinking that way, thinking in terms of conflict, naturally leads to divisions and absolutism, right? But when this dispute, when this disagreement is ended between left-leaning gamers and right-leaning gamers, or OSR and new gamers, or gamers and corpo, right? We must conduct commerce with these people. Now, a lot of people are like, not at my table, I don't have to, because I can just do what I want at my table. But it's like, no, they're all the same fan base. They're all the same community. You have to be able, on some level, to eventually talk to these people like a human being if you're going to have game. And that's why I get so upset about the gatekeeping thing, is because I don't like the idea that we're going to become so sectarian, so separate from one another, that we can no longer recognize other gamers as gamers because they don't agree with us.
That's the part that's that's truly divisive. Is the real division is just like that article pointed out. You know, oh, these are the good guys over here. Those people who play older rule sets they're terrible. They're demonic and they're evil, and you should stay away from them. I've heard that before. And it didn't work then. It's not going to work now. And my entire take on it is, I know, like Chris Garnerman. Chris Garnerman kind of leans politically left, and that's fine. But he doesn't inject it into his games. He doesn't come at me as a player or me as a GM for the way I vote. He doesn't ask the way I vote. The Chenaults and Trollord Games don't do that. It's also kind of why I said, going and beating up Jason Vey over his comments, it's not going to work. It's at some point, I think it's one of the solutions when someone can admit, okay, I fucked up, is can we then say, okay, well, let's put the brakes on this train for just a minute. Because now we got to think, okay, if they're doubling down, tripling down, close your wallet, walk away, don't fuck with them,
Here's the thing, Don. My interpretation, if somebody was to walk up to me and say those things, is they're an asshole. Because we're 2 hours late, we're 3 hours later. I can say that word. YouTube doesn't care. But the thing is that I also say that the guy who, if I walk out and I'm like, tell me about your game, and he just starts with his ban list, and then starts telling me about how he doesn't roll system with dice. He uses interpretive dance. We used to call that guy an asshole too. Okay, where my issue comes in, okay, is okay. They say that they're the good guys, and they say that you're the evil guys, and then your response is, well, if I'm the evil guy, I'm going to be even more exclusionary than you. Is not a solution. That is the equivalent problem. It's saying that the action is okay as long as it's in my favor, and it's not.
It's only okay if I do it, kind of rule.
Yeah, it's like, no, that's not. That's what they're trying to say. They're trying to say, well, it's okay if I exclude. It's like, no, it's not okay if anyone excludes without cause, and that's the important one. Is there a cause? If a dude walks up and you say, hi, do you want to play? And he's like, yeah. And it's like, okay. And he says, what's your game about? And you tell him things. And he says, that's misogynist and homophobic. Right? Yeah, he uninvited himself from the get-go. That's a reason. Right? But if a guy with danger hair walks up and says he's trans and he wants to play, but he can keep a civil tongue in his head, you don't ostracize them just because they don't have your politics. Because it doesn't matter at that point. They came to play.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like if someone showed up at my table wearing I don't know, someone comes up to the table wearing a white power t-shirt, I'm gonna be like, oh no, not here. It would be the same. And here's the thing, both extremes, that guy really disinvited himself.
Yeah.
But I would do the same for someone coming up wearing a hammer and sickle t-shirt too, because I'd be like, no, stop. Because obviously that's that's someone trying to really just throw it out there to see what kind of reaction they're going to get, and then they're going to try to. It's a cry bully. It's a cry bully. They came to the table, throwing that out there, and that's why I'm saying none of that shit. You want to come in wearing a Metallica t-shirt, a Megadeth t-shirt, a Celine Dion fucking t-shirt, or a Kenny fucking G t-shirt. No one's going to exclude you over that shit. No one.
Well, because see, there's the thing. This is the secret problem. I'm not coming out in favor of the people that want to politicize gaming, right? But to argue that games do not have political elements would be disingenuous.
And that's naive, yeah.
Because a guy walks up to your table and he has a Megadeth shirt, you think he's pretty cool, and he sits down. Cool. Except his shirt says peace sells with who's buying. That's a political statement on his Megadeth shirt.
Yeah.
Right.
But here's the thing. It's also a callback to a classic album.
No, I know, but that's why I brought it up. Metallica and Megadeth had political elements, and their listeners enthuse those elements, or they just enjoy the music.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then if you're running a game about political intrigue where the evil lords are exploiting the populace because you like Robin Hood, well, guess what? The idea of evil lords in a feudal system extorting through taxes is still a political statement, even though it's the politics of the medieval period. It's there, right?
Just for politics in gaming, political intrigue in your worlds, that's one thing. Yeah. If you're playing like this is where I'm going to say it's a little naive to say that no politics in gaming, no politics at the table, but in the game, it would be naive for me to assume that when I sit down and someone breaks out World War II Operation White Box and says, "Hey, we're going to play this," I'm going to be like, "Okay," and they say you can either play the Americans, you could play the Russians, you could play the French, you could play the Polish, you could play all these other nations, all the allied nations. I, as GM, am going to run the Axis nations. I'm going to be like, okay. And they'll be like, create your character according to which one you want. Okay. There in that setting, there is actual political shit going on. That's why there's a war. If it's World War I, if it's Civil War, if it's feudal Japan, there's going to be that real world political intrigue there. That is different than forcefully shoehorning your danger hair tiefling trans allegory into fucking D&D.
Exactly. And I think that the big one that's missing, I think the element that doesn't come up enough is good taste. Okay? Yeah. And let me describe it this way. Back in Org Play, a certain event happened in November on the 11th, about 19 years ago, 20 years ago. That was very hot button. And there was a question of how do we address this in our game? Because our game was national. There were people from New York who were in the club. It was a problem. And the argument was given, we just don't talk about it. We won't address that because it's not like Pearl Harbor. It's way too close, right? Yeah. And that was fine. Now, I had ideas for what you could do with it, and I always felt it was a shame that we couldn't address that event, right? But I didn't complain about being told, please don't talk about this event because it makes people unhappy and uncomfortable, because as well it should. The poor taste element would be if people showed up and go, you can't pretend it didn't happen because that's cheapening people's experiences. How dare you? Right? And trying to force people to address that event. Right? And that's the thing. That's in poor taste. That's the part that's offensive, is the force. If it's just the existence of these things, that's not bad. Right. Those things exist. I'm not going to pretend that people don't have hassle in game, especially if I'm playing something urban fantasy in a modern setting, just because that hassle might be uncomfortable to talk about. It obviously exists. It just might not be a component of my chronicle,
But what I think, and Brian's right. These are kind of like two different things. Arguing about politics outside the game at the table is different from arguing politics within the game setting and character. That's true. But here's the thing. I take it a little bit further. To have like a Dark Lord who's rising, who is just slowly taking over your gaming world, and you're trying to stop that. That's one thing. But you using my table as a soapbox and then using these books as a bullhorn for your political ideology, that's out. I mean, it's just that simple. Outside of that, you can go stand on a soapbox at the corner. You can ring bells. You could do Alex Jones bullhorning. I don't give a shit. But at that table, that all stops.
Well, see, where my discomfort comes in, and this is not a GM thing, this is a player thing, player to player, right? Is what I don't like is the idea of the danger hairs coming in and saying, you, the GM, or you, the player, can't have characters do these things that we all agree are evil because they make me sad, right? So if you have a fantasy game where the Dark Lord is rising, right? And to give your game some verisimilitude, your Dark Lord is using real-world political theory to do it, right? You know, he's manipulating people, he's blackmailing, he's doing all the nasty things that happen under the table that villains do. Don't tell me, oh, you can't do blackmail because exploiting people with naughty pictures makes me feel bad. It's like, no, my Dark Lord is doing Dark Lord things. Let him be a Dark Lord. Don't appreciate it. Fight against it. That's what your character's supposed to do.
That's what you're here to oppose in character.
Right, right. I need the tools of evil to tell you what they're doing is evil.
Yeah, I mean, even in games like Vampire the Masquerade, Wraith the Oblivion, the Wretchedverse, even in the Wretchedverse, you're not playing a total piece of shit. You're playing an anti-hero. You're playing someone who's very, very flawed. And Urbanski pointed this out, RPG Pundit, in one of his videos where he said you could flip that on its head and you could you could assign a virtue to that character, and that becomes that character's theme. So yeah, you could still flip the Wretchedverse on its head. There's nothing written in Blood or Stone that says you have to be this. That's the thing, and I gotta remember when we play the game to be heroes. That's exactly it. But the hero is only as good as the villains that they face. And that's it. That's why Frodo Baggins' name is so well known. That's why Bilbo Baggins' name is so well known. They took on two very much larger than them villains and won. And Frodo Baggins, I'm going to put an asterisk next to that just because it was actually Smeagol who had a final hand in the destruction of the ring.
Hey, you don't have to be the person who lays the death blow to have a battle. He had to carry that ring all over Middle Earth to get it to the Mount Doom, and it was a struggle every step of the way.
Yeah, and this is it. Against the slave lords, you're not rooting for slavery. You're there to defeat the evil slavers. Is that going too far? And certainly not in Dark Sun it isn't. You have systemic slavery. You have systemic oppression in that game. You're there to defeat it.
Matter of point, the one game of Pathfinder I played, I not only made my fellow players upset, but I made them upset in the way that they had to admit that I was right and then tell me never to do something awful again. We were sent on a quest to save some slaves, and we did, right? And everybody was like, well, we'll just give them away. We'll just free them under the table. We'll help them escape. I knew the slavers would be on us like white on rice if we did that, right?
Yeah.
I knew
what you're talking about is Journeys to the Radiant Citadel.
Right.
We've already rolled our eyes at that one earlier, but yes, that's exactly it.
So what I did is I didn't tell the party. I sold the slaves back into slavery. When the party found out, they were mad. They were like, why'd you do that? And I said, because now they trust us. Now they won't pay us close attention next time we go to help them. Now we can save other people who aren't so damaged. Because the slaves we rescued were enculturated. They were the kind of people who had been so deeply ingrained in slavery they couldn't not be slaves and function.
Yeah, they were like Morpheus said. When he points out to Neo in the Matrix, and that's what made the first. I I still love all three Matrix films, but that first one is yeah, I agree, it's the best. When he is taking Neo through a simulation, and he said, you have to understand that we are trying to free these people, but some of them are so inured and so locked in that they will absolutely fight to protect it. And until then, we have to consider them the enemy.
Right.
And then he's like, were you listening, or were you looking at the girl in the red dress? And before he could respond, he said, look again. He turns around and it's an agent. And it was there to make that point that, yeah, some people are so entrenched in that idea that it becomes their identity. And that, that cognitive dissonance is too much to really handle. And right now I'm seeing that with a lot of young people. Holy crap. It's, this is why I say, like, some people are so entrenched in the 5e thing right now. Like, I've got it. I'm willing to run it. I'm willing to play it. I'm willing to play it for these younger people, because I know that eventually it's going to take a long time, but I can actually sort of like deprogram that and show them there are other worlds out there, and they're tons more amazing, and they're so much simpler to operate in. You're not going to get lost in your character sheet.
Okay, I want to give a last anecdote, because we actually ground out another half hour of your
we
show.
did.
We were almost done.
We did.
But I think this one is pertinent, and it's me shaking my fist at people in positions of authority and explaining why both Max Landis and his father John Landis are wrong. Okay?
Yeah.
So Max Landis gave an anecdote of his own some time ago in a video. You can find it on YouTube, talking about how the rules of writing don't matter. And what he gave as an example is he was struggling with a story idea, struggling with a script, and his dad saw him struggling, came over. John Landis, the guy who got somebody murdered on the Twilight Zone set,
yep,
and said, "What's the problem, son?" And they talked about it. He said, "Okay, so tell me, what are the rules to kill a Dracula? How do you kill a vampire, right?" And Max Landis started running through all the classic ones: sunlight, stake, holy water, what have you. And John Landis said, "No, that's not true. That's all made up bullshit. The rules don't matter. Whatever matters is what you say matters in the context of your story." Right? Now, that's almost correct, because obviously with enough supporting material to explain it, you can justify just about anything. In Blade, vampires are killed by silver, even though that's a werewolf thing. But it's because they're chemically vampires, and silver nitrate is murderous, okay? But it is also very wrong, because ultimately the rules do matter, right? And once you open the gate and say that anything can be written for anything because nobody cares and none of it matters, and you're not an experienced writer, you will make bad decisions because you don't even realize they're bad decisions. And Radiant Citadel is a perfect example of this. I don't actually, as a person, have a problem with the idea of what if there was a fantasy location that was socialist. Okay, let's do fantasy socialism. I'm down. Let's try the experiment, right? But to say it's both socialist and idyllic and everything works and it's fantasy, but it's medieval in the ethereal plane with ethno-root elements and mind control and brain worms because we use crystals is too much. The rules don't make sense. You left for similitude a long freaking time ago. The realities of your setting are not only unbelievable, they're non-existent, and there's no conflict. Good job.
Yeah, no doubt. But here's Don was saying, I'm kind of sick of the Forgotten Realms by now anyways. Actually, I think you're probably sick of the Sword Coast, because the Sword Coast is the Remembered Realms. Everything else has been what's been forgotten. And of course, LOL, fantasy socialism equals Venezuela. Yep.
Hey, look, Faye endures.
That's true. I can tell you, like, it's not great what's happening in Venezuela right now, and a lot of it goes to clearly show you, no matter what, cronyism is what destroys shit. Like, bigger than life and twice as ugly. And if you want an accelerant, yeah, socialism's like adding gasoline to that fire. It's horrible. But anyway, I think we're going to wrap here because, like I said, we've gone over way more than we should. Anyway, I wanted to thank every one of you guys for showing up. Every one of you guys who've been hanging on, whether it was 15 minutes or the whole 3 hours and 15 minutes, whatever it was, we appreciate you being here. Joe, any parting shots before we sign off here? Where did he go? I think he's mute challenged. Anyway, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here because I've got some other stuff to do before the Horde Wars game tonight, which I'm looking big time forward to. This has, and Don, you're absolutely right, it has been absolutely great. And I'm glad to have made someone Saturday because I drank so much tea. So much tea has gone into me. I prefer the necromancy buffet. Yeah, that don't eat people that support them. Yeah. T-shirt showed up right at the end of things. But thank you for coming. Thank you so much. Definitely rock on, keep gaming. Just remember, everybody.
Let me get this straight. We're wrapping up, and T-shirted historian just wandered in right at the end.
Right at the end.
Well, I mean, I gotta ask: is this an advertisement for the Weekend Geek, which usually happens about 1 p.m. my time?
Probably. Right. I'm gonna be there.
Yeah. So after this, go mess up T-shirted historian's thing.
Let's as a matter of fact, for those of you guys still here, definitely go check out T-shirt Historians Weekend Geek. It is awesome. I really wish I could check out the Dungeons and Discussions podcast, but they're on Sundays and I'm working Sundays.
I mean, GrimJim might be there. GrimJim is probably going to talk about the petition and his beliefs and opinions on what's being going about. Yeah,
and naturally he'll be sharing that petition as well. So all of you, it's starred, so definitely go sign it if you haven't already. And if you have, spread the word.
Although I don't think this is so much the Weekend Geek as the Weekend WoTC.
Goodness knows we did. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I say, like, personally, I recommend, like, just personal recommendations, getting away from WoTC. I definitely recommend Troll Lord Games. Go grab those 5th edition books. Use them to kind of bring players into Troll Lord's fantasy setting, Castles and Crusades. Introduce them to Victorious or Amazing Adventures. Night Shift, I also recommend that. The Wretchedverse. Lamentations of the Flame Princess, I recommend that too. It's, in my opinion, you're going to get better than Mork Borg with that one. Swords and Wizardry, Osric, Basic Fantasy, for Golden Glory, all of those are free. At least for players, you can get the Player's Handbook from Troll Lord Games free. You can get Osric, Basic Fantasy, all that good stuff. Get that free, and show your players a simpler rule set if they've been like stuck in 5th edition for a while. It's time to let your 5th edition players know, hey, guess what? WoTC and Hasbro do not care about us. Maybe we shouldn't care about them either. Maybe we should show them no more love. And I'll tell you, there's only one real big disappointing factor to this, is that it's tied my hands personally from supporting a third-party independent creator, and that's Splinterverse. Splinterverse came out with a Dragonlance companion. Yo Dano is like high on this book. He absolutely loves it. And I was like, yeah, okay, next paycheck, I'll put it for one. I'll put it in order. Unfortunately, WoTC gets a cut of that. And for me personally, it's unconscionable to continue supporting them after so many bad, moves, that I'm like, no, I can't do it. I can't. And my apologies to Splinterverse, because I really, really did want to support you guys on that one. And there were people that were saying, oh yeah, go to eBay or Amazon. I'm like, no, this is a DM's Guild purchase. This is not going to be on Amazon or eBay.
So Wolfgar, I have an idea. I have a terrible idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you, and you're going to get really excited. and you're gonna say that's really awesome, and then you're
I'm
not gonna
always
want
up for bad ideas.
and then you're gonna say no, I don't want to work on it. So I propose the following. We make a setting for wretched bastards called Drakensword.
Drakensword.
And what it is it's what if you were playing Dragonlance with the serial numbers filed off, right? But you were Lord Soth and his bros, and you were the good guys.
Oh shit. Well, the thing is, like, how I know that you say you haven't gone into the Dragonlance thing, but some of the Dragonlances, they're not just lances. Some of them are swords and things like that.
Right, but I was talking more about property name because you can't use Dragonlance.
Yeah.
You know, so Drakensword,
Wyvern Blade,
Saurian Spear. Yeah.
Honestly, I would, like,
the scale mace.
Scale mace. Jeez, that would be difficult to wield. But anyway, I definitely recommend checking out, just like Hit My Pin Tweet sometime. Go through that, and you'll find a whole bunch of like third-party creators. And Don mentioned OSC and Dungeon Crawl Classics. I also recommend Mutant Crawl Classics. I mean, that looks like a lot of damn fun, and they're compatible with each other, just like the Wretchedverse is. So I definitely recommend, Troll Lord Games, the Wretchedverse, whatever you can get for free, grab it, have a look at it. You never know what you'll come up with. So to close out, I'm going to say thank you all for being here. Dungeons and Delvers, I need to get a copy of that.
And if you got it for free and you like it, spread it around. Give it to other people. That's how you get the newbies. Hook the newbies. Not just for OSR, but the more newbies you bring into gaming, the more good gamers you get.
I do love this book. I do. It's awesome. I haven't checked out 5 Torches Deep yet. I want to, though. It's and that was another thing I forgot to even mention, that solo gaming. And so I'll cover that just real briefly. Solo gaming is a great way to get to know a rule.
Oh God, no!
Yeah.
Oh God, Brian, no.
Right. I think the necro buffet needs to enter the Drakensword. But Don says 5 Torches Deep is a cool system. That's 4 Against Darkness. Yes, I am actually playing that. I've only done 2 sessions so far, but I'm looking forward to my third.
Hey, you want a suggestion of missed opportunities that's actually quite flavorsome and fun?
Yeah.
Check out Midnight Chronicles.
Midnight Chronicles.
It's a game from Fantasy Fight Games that got a TV pilot, right? Basically, what if Sauron won the War of the Ring, right? And it's set in the Empire that followed. Right?
Okay.
Now, the basic presumption of the game is that you're going to play the Glorious Rebellion, so Star Wars style, right? But there's nothing saying, and there are rules and such there, for what if you are someone who's loyal to the evil empire, but you have the touch of goodness, because the gods still exist. Yeah, Midnight is the name of the pilot. It's on Prime if you got the Amazon.
I do. I'll have a look. But so does Lex Arcanus, and Cal says I have it on video.
I mean everybody coming out and saying how awesome. It's a pretty strong encouragement.
That's pretty strong. I do agree.
Then again, I have Pirates of Darkwater both on my machine and on VHS tape. We don't talk about how that got on VHS.
But even with solo gaming is a great way for you as a GM to learn a system, especially if you're going to run it. Castles and Crusades lends itself really well to that. So all you would need is the player's handbook and Mythic, and you'll learn pretty much everything you need to know to move forward as a castle keeper at some point. 2 more hours, come on. I wish I could, but yeah, like gaming supplements like old school solo, that's great. That's specifically targeted OSC. So if you want to learn OSC, there you go. You can do Scarlet Heroes Hostile solo. That's great sci-fi. I'm gonna say this right now. I highly recommend Hostile solo. Hostile can also be played, as a typical RPG. And it hit, my gosh, like Alien is kind of narrow. Hostile opens it up.
Let me throw out a weird one. For people who are classic, who remember being children, and you want something really simple that is still a role-playing game. Hero Quest recently came out again, and they re-released the expansions.
Yep.
And it's like, but it's a board game. It's a dungeon crawler. It's an RPG, and it came with its own minis. Don't complain.
Yeah.
Played Hero Quest.
Basically, you're getting a really good intro to like how D&D operates on a very stripped down scale.
Yeah, exactly.
That was how I started. And when one of my friends, I think Nick brought over GURPS, and we passed that thing around like a joint at a Pink Floyd concert looking through it. And we ended up taking some rules that we thought would pretty much work and applying it to Hero Quest to make new adventures when we ran out, and it totally worked. And we called it, Boondocks or Backwater D&D, because that's pretty much what it was. But when he got first quest and brought that to the table, when we opened up the box, we were like, hey, they got the same miniatures. And that's the other part. Oh goodness, it's fucking Hasbro. Oh,
I'm so glad I already bought mine. Then I don't have to go back to it.
Oh man, shit, that sucks.
I mean that just adds on to the stack, though. Okay.
Zero Quest. Yeah,
but that just proves the point. I already said in conversation on Gilded, Hasbro pushing for more money is garbage because they're already a $1 billion company. They will never feel not getting every dollar from D&D. They have Hero Quest. What do they care about D&D money?
Yeah, they really don't. And here's the thing: if you really wanted to push that kind of thing, this would be the smarter move, in my opinion. If I'm head of Hasbro here, I'm going to Wizards. I'll be like, why are we losing money on D&D? Why have the sales declined so sharply? That's what I want to know first and foremost. I'll be like, okay, so we lost the tourists, and we're losing some of the old crowd too. Why are we losing some of the old crowd? Get that old crowd back. I mean, kiss their ass, because what we're going to do next, we're going to be doing a little partnership thing, and I think this would be better. I mean, still go ahead with the whole virtual tabletop thing, D&D Beyond. I understand it. That's fine. But again, microtransactions, not something that's going to work for D&D. Just never has worked, never will.
Well,
what I would do instead is I would take Hero Quest and make it a board game tie-in to D&D. And market it as such. For the kids, here's the basic. Here's basic rules, republished, cleaned up. You can pair it with Hero Quest and do dungeon crawls. Here you go.
Well, here's the thing. We've actually already seen how to do what they should have been doing that they're not doing. I don't remember who it is. I can look it up now. But there's a place that's selling old first ed style adventures reprinted, like Keep on the Borderlands. And it has the original adventure, and it has the adventure for 5th ed, right? In a hardcover, right? How to do both. Rules for both. Rules for conversion. If they said, we're going to release all the back catalog in a high-quality tome, and we're going to release them in the same module numbers, right, with appropriate rules so you can play them classic and new, right? Even if people were mad, we'd buy them because we want them, because we want that old stuff, which means you're also selling the new stuff, which means if you have both, then the old school player with the new school friends will be like, when he's like, I want to play 5th ed, it's like, well, okay, I've got some rules for that. And it makes its own money. does it make as much money as they're looking for? No.
Short
but
term,
it doesn't.
no.
But it
Long
doesn't.
term,
yeah, it doesn't not make money.
Yeah, it long term that would be a big one. And it says you can get the latest skin suit race, the Fluffuzi. Pay $2.99 and the Fluffuzi will be available in your D&D character creation base. Don't worry about the abilities; they're whatever you want. That's true.
Can I pay $1.99 more for the Vuvuzela?
So at some point, I just heard Chris Rock's Cheapest Man Alive character in my head. $2.99, good Lord, that's a lot of money. How about I give you $1.99 and you just give me the fur?
I mean, I know that you said Chris Rock, but all I could hear was Dave Chappelle's crackhead.
Y'all got any more of them? What do you call them? D100s?
It's like clickety clacking at math rocks. Can I smoke that?
You see something about you got any more of them math rocks? What? Oh yay! Here we go. Daniel Kwan. Why the Fluffuzi are racist stereotypes? And I didn't get paid.
Well, they're fluffy, so they're culturally appropriating furry culture. How dare you?
How much for one rib? Thank you. That was great. The only people who are going to profit off of one D&D are the grifters. That's true. That's very true. And unfortunately, I don't see this really ending well for. I don't want to say D&D because we're always going to have. I think a lot of people are right. We're always going to have D&D. We're always going to have anybody who reaches into their bookshelf or into their PDF library that hasn't been locked into D&D Beyond. We're always going to have D&D.
It is more narrow-minded than you even think to that, because there's already Tabletop Simulator, Tailspire. There are several game-agnostic virtual tabletop environments being designed for fantasy games that will absolutely spread out for other types of gaming. So trying to create a walled garden for V20 style gaming on the premise that it'll be the easiest to use won't work.
No,
because there are already qualitative. That's the important part. Qualitative other options.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that Roll20 worked, Roll20.net, wasn't because Roll20's good. Okay, it's not. It's because MapTools, its competitor, was Java, and Java was worse.
Yeah. Well, I look at it like this. This was there was an episode of King of the Hill where Bobby got heavy.
I'll tell you what about that
D&D. And Bobby got into this Christian metal band or this Christian rock band, and they were skaters. They had tattoos. They look cool.
You're not making rock music, Jesus. You're making rock music worse.
No, you're not making. What was it? You're not making Jesus cool. You're making rock music worse.
Yes,
and that's exactly what's going on right now. It's WoTC. You're not making this agenda cool. You're making D&D worse.
Is that what we need? Do we need you to?
We need that Hank Hill meme. Yeah, you're not making that ideology cool. You're making D&D worse.
But Wolfgar, does this mean that when you and I get together for gaming, I need to bring you onto King of the Vigil as a guest star?
Oh, totally.
Because I'll tell you, my friend Ben, he can do he can do Hill if he has to, but his go-to guy is Dale. So if you want to be Hank,
or as hung up as I get on my words, sometimes I can totally do Boomhauer.
You probably do Boomhauer better than my friend Brady, who's not really.
Tell you what, man, dang old Wretchedverse, man. I don't know what the hell that was. That's around over there, man. It just sounded like an aluminum can, Hank. Sounded like an aluminum can, but I don't know, man. Place might be hauling dang old spirits, man. I'll tell you what.
All I know is that I am reasonably good at doing Bill and making people feel bad for Bill.
Well, that's about as good as it's going to get.
It's okay, guys. I don't need none of this loot. I'll just stand over here with some Pringles.
Now, Bill, get over here and quit dicking around. We got a treasure chest to load up. Well, I'll tell you what, man, dang old treasure chest gonna get real heavy here in a minute. How are we gonna get this damn thing out of here, man? I don't know. I'll tell you what.
I don't believe in treasure chests. Big mimic.
Dale, now is not the time for your conspiracy theories. All of a sudden, rah! Man, dang old Dale, man, looked like he was right. Boomhauer's the wizard. He has to constantly over spells.
Well, because he's speaking strange and archaic words no one can understand.
Well, hang on here. Let's see. I got this. See, dang old, got the magic one there.
Wait a minute. Are you
broken Ashendale and
he's not a wizard. He's a bard.
He's a bard.
Yeah, but you know why, right?
Why?
Because there's an episode where Bobby asks him, "How do you talk to women?" And everyone's freaking out because they think Boomhauer's going to teach him how to be a pickup artist. And he takes him to the mall, and he walks, and he just says, "You just watch me do what I do." And he walks up to him, and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And she ignores him, and he walks up to another one, he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And she ignores him, and he walks up to a third one, he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And she's into it, and they walk away, right? Because literally, that's all the bard's doing is rolling to see if he can actually pick anyone up.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, we're about to wrap up this damn stream, man. We've been going on like way longer than I should have.
I posit to you that Hank is the wizard and he doesn't get it. But he's selling a clean burning magic and magic accessories.
Yeah, he's got all the components.
Right.
What we sell here is spells and spell components. Now, I don't really get any of this, but they say if you combine this here Eye of Newt in with this here elixir, well, it creates a big fireball and just consumes orcs. It's amazing. And all for this one little vial.
Also, John Redcore and his white druids are bullshit.
Cal said even a specialty dice maker just sent out an email of concern about the new OGL. Oh. What was it? Oh, glad we hung up this long. New info. Let's do it. Let's go. What is it? I've got to hear about this.
Well, I mean, that's extra interesting because it's a dice manufacturer.
That's dice maker.
That's not. I mean, it's game, but that's not game. That's game tools.
Yeah,
if the tool makers are worried about the thing, that means you got a serious problem.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I got the Dice of Death and Dismemberment. Oh, T-shirt. I think you unboxed some of that on your stream once, and I was like, oh my god, that looks amazing.
Well, just earlier we were talking about 3D printing. And I always front for Beastarium Games, right? If dice makers are starting to be worried about the OGL, miniature makers are too, because they're already fighting against guys like Games Workshop, because a 3D printer literally owns the means of production, right? Yeah, because you have a printer. So now, if they start trying to wheedle in on only official Wizards of the Coast minis for D&D, that's going to cause a war. That's going to go over like a wet fart.
Oh gosh, yeah. And here's the thing: I don't think that they can do that. I really don't, because I don't think they can really do anything about dice in and of themselves, because those very same dice. You can find them in a sort of limited number. Like if you just run down to your Walgreens, go to the toy section, you'll see math dice. It's kind of a big D12 and like a few other dice. But there's also sites like, let me just see if I can find that one. It's math. Let's see if I can find this one. It comes from a 1, 2, 3, 4 homeschool for kids. I don't think that's it. I'm looking for it right now. Hang on, let me stop camp so I can just kind of look for it without looking like a complete moron. But anyway, let's see. Think fun. Teacher Next Door. No, it's not that one. It's well, okay. So this is just staples. Okay, I will. Now I've seen this before.
What's this tab that says "Hot Young Mimes in Your Area"?
Oh, nothing. Nothing. Fucker. No, I don't think this is it, because there was a better example. Okay, so math dice. This is one I'll share. I'll show you this. Oh, what have I done? I for some reason I clicked my video editor and I don't know why. Oh God. See, it tells you everything you need to know. Here we go. Think Fun Math Dice Share. This is what you'll find at any Walgreens or just about anywhere like Toys R Us. You can find it here on Amazon, but this is what you've got. You've got a big D12 in the middle and then like 5 D6s, and it's a mental math game. Okay, cool. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, there's this one too. And my first math dice.
Well, what they might do, and I don't advocate them for doing this. WoTC, if you're watching this, don't do this. Is they might try to take the polyhedrals in the direction of Vampire 5th Edition and make some kind of specialty dice as real-world DRM so that you can't play the game without the specialty dice, which will kill D&D. Because one of D&D's strengths has always been that the materials are super easy to get. So if you make a bad game and it has to be online, and if you use dice, you have to have our specialty dice, that's going to ostracize how many people?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, all your platonic solid now belong to us.
Fear the Triangle, WoTC. Let's see if I can find that. It was a site, though, and it specialized in educational.
T-shirt is like all your Archimedean solids are now ours also. Does this mean that there's going to be a schism between the Platonics and the Archimedeans? Are we going to see math war in our age?
Oh my gosh. Anything but math war. Let's see. The
year is 2023. Society has collapsed.
Let's see. Mobile. Yeah, there we go. Nope. Okay. Really? Here we go. Okay, so I'm looking for it right now, but I know I have a website here. It's basically Educational Supply, and that was what they that was their stock and trade, was that. So they actually have a box. Here it is. Bang, there it is. Okay, so polyhedral dice sampler, set of 105 with case. It's like just under $30.
Well,
and here it comes.
What is finally going to get us to shut down the stream, Wolfgar, while you're working on that, is I need to go. It's almost noon here. And I don't know if I mentioned, my fridge is broken.
Oh, no.
My freezer died probably on the 1st, and I don't know how much of my food is savable.
Oh, no.
But some friends are taking me out to get a new device. So I need to get on that.
Okay, yeah. So this set right here includes 35 20-sided, 10 12, 30 D10s, 10 D8s, 10 D6s, and 10 D4s.
Hey, T-shirt historian has it right. Coming soon from WoTC. Archimedes versus Plato, the source book for one D&D for $99.95 on D&D Beyond. Daniel Kwan not included for oversight.
I really hope this is all good in the end, because I don't think WoTC was ever going to be the biggest villain. I didn't think WoTC was ever going to be the biggest villain.
You know, this is turning into some Kentucky Fried Movie stuff.
This is.
Okay.
I mean, you're eating has been pissed in. Film at 11.
I mean, did you know that 1 in 3 Americans suffers from death?
Or personal favorite, Action Man. He goes right into the middle of a dice game, screams his racist slur, and runs. And those guys are looking at each other like, "Wait, what the fuck? Oh, we're gonna get his ass." Yes. WoTC's a bigger villain than Vecna. Oh yeah, I could go on about that one too.
I'm gonna take a giant expulsion on something people love on my way out. We should have known that problems were in the wind, not when Critical Role showed up, not when live play became a thing and PAX was doing them at conventions. Those were all bad, but those weren't the sign. No, we should have known there was a problem when D&D became a dress patina for Stranger Things. Right? Their Yingu doesn't look like Yingu, and their big bad for their next season was Vecna, who doesn't look like Vecna because he's just a zombie.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. I think though it's where it benefits us a little bit is when I can tell them, hey, how would you like to play D&D? This is usually my door. Hey, how would you like to play D&D like they do in Stranger Things? Because you can do it in everything but name, and you could do it for free, and that's how I get my foot in the door.
Also, Cal, if you want, once I've completed some things, I could make that for the Wretchedverse. Catholic high school girls in trouble in the Wretchedverse. I think
they already did that with Sisters of the Seven Sins. Oh wait, no, that could be something completely different. Yeah, I'm good with that.
I mean, you put it in the slightly Twin Peaks style game.
Actually, you could do even better, a university connected to that order. And you got the Catholic college girls in trouble.
Right.
That way, it keeps it from getting way too weird, way too quick.
But then you pick your poison. It's aliens. It's other monsters because there's werewolf in a girl's dormitory. I've got that whole film. Right. Or you could do the Apostles of Pain in an all-girls school.
Yeah.
Because that wouldn't be awful. Except it would.
You've got that kind of Taken angle because this is set in Europe. You got that Taken angle if you could put a college girl traveling abroad.
Oh man! Oh, I want this in my life. Red Room, where are you? You need to get some film people on. I want a film that's basically a horror version of Taken with a Liam Neeson alike fighting Cenobites. I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you come from. But I have a certain set of skills that make me a nightmare for creatures like you.
Just know one thing. I will find you, and I will kill you in Minecraft.
Right!
All right, so I think now's a good time to wrap before we go 4 hours here.
This is how games get made, people. Bad ideas by enthusiastic weirdos.
That's it. The right kind of weirdos.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you all for being here. Thank you for showing up. I just want to close out. Actually, Joe, any parting thoughts here?
I've already spammed so much of my writing stuff, and everybody knows my life. But the good news is since I got most of my life stuff in order, I will finally be able to focus on getting that resting place for my mom. And as soon as that's done, I'll get you that picture, so we will all see Mom looking cool.
All right, cool deal.
In a nice. I will not get her a gamer box. I will get her a real box. But
yeah, that's exactly what we're saying, Don. It's our last goodbye. We were really proud for really reals this time. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for contributing to the conversation. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the comments, the subscriptions. Again, I love you all. Take care of yourselves and each other. Always always play what lights you up. And as always, roll on.